President Trump says he wants legislation to slash energy regulations and boost spending on border security.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. The Trump administration is going to the Supreme Court. In a push to deport more illegal immigrants, he's trying to unblock a federal judge's ruling keeping temporary protected status in place for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. Another judge has another block on deportations.
Texas-based federal judge Fernando Rodriguez, appointed by President Trump, has issued this order saying Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act was unlawful. The judge says there's no invasion or predatory incursion that warrants Trump's proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act.
Fox's Bill Malugin. The act was used to expedite the deportation of hundreds of alleged gang members in the U.S. illegally sent to El Salvador in March. America's listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There's a better way. Pure Talk is offering a free brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 with a qualifying plan. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Dial pound 250 and say keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, Meemaws. Yeah, it's a little different this morning as the children have control of all the fireworks. It's Carlos Medina, front office low, sitting in the chair of power where Tug Coward normally sits. Angela Morabito joins us once again. We've got you today and on Monday, and I'm always very excited because Tug will send me the note of, hey, Angela's going to sub in for me. Do you mind? I'm like, are you kidding?
That's so kind of you. I'm so happy to be here. I am even happier it is Friday. It has been a week.
It has been a long one for us. Now, we're always having fun on a regular basis. You always joke around about how quick the show runs.
Yes.
It's just everything outside the show has been seemingly taking a lot of time for us. So, and by the way, I've also been informed, this was Jerry, who, as Jure is like the official monitor of the show, he was like, man, the last time that Angela was in here, it's like, you were on your best behavior. And I said, I was just trying to set a good standard here.
Oh, that's really nice.
But he was like, there's things that you normally say that you wouldn't say. You were embarrassed by the fart jokes. So I'm going to kind of let it loose a little bit more this morning. For Jerry and for you.
All right, gloves off. Here we go.
So before we jump into some of this political talk, I just want to let everyone know on this show that I kind of wrote a check that I'm not sure we can cash, but we'll see what happens. So on yesterday, I'm listening to Kimmer. I'm driving my youngest daughter over to volleyball practice, and Kimmer gets into this rant about what he would do to softball pitching. And I'm like, well, of course, it's softball pitching. Like, I don't know, did you ever play any co-ed softball leagues or anything else?
Oh, gosh, I did church league softball as a little kid, but I was terrible. I was really, really bad.
Were you that kid that, like, stood out in right field and, like, played in the dirt?
Like making sandcastles in the outfield? Absolutely me.
Awesome. So Kimmer then starts getting into this whole story about how if I was to see a fast-pitch softball pitcher, this is what I would do. Now, as a guy who, obviously got a chance to play baseball into college, I saw what at least university level fast-pitch softball pitchers do. And I would look at it and say, I'm not hitting that. Like, that's crazy.
Well, it's totally different. It's a different release point. The ball's coming up.
The ball is coming up at you. There's a pitch, they call it a rise ball.
Oh.
Where it actually starts moving towards your head. Like, it starts low and it explodes upward, which physically you can't do that in baseball. There's no such thing.
We watch a lot of baseball. I've never seen one of those.
Right. Whenever they say, like, oh, it's a rising fastball, that is physically impossible to happen. The eyes are playing tricks on you. Not in softball. It's actually rising. And so I ended up tweeting Kimmer in the show as him and Pete were knocking it out. And I also sent a text to Flounder. I was like, there is no way in hell that you will make solid contact with one ball. And then that started the whole discussion of, how do we line this out? What is the bet going to be?
Uh-oh.
And this is a downplaying of the female athlete, in my opinion. I'm like, Kimmer, I don't think you understand. And Pete ended up pointing it out to him. He's like, they're throwing 60, 65 miles an hour, but it's from 40 feet. So it looks 90 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, this is like I wouldn't want to now. Yeah, I could hit it. But, Kimmer, I know you got some skills on the golf course. I've seen you play. I'm just pointing out that when it comes to softball, it's a whole other world, buddy.
Can I come, be the umpire for this? I'm dying to see this happen.
This is the discussion. We started saying, well, what if we do it as because our sister station, it's pretty much every other month, they have an equipment drive that they do. And it's at different sports complexes around Atlanta. And I was like, well, what if we do this? Of course, Flounder, Pete, and Kimmer turned it into what if we do a charity softball game? I'm like, do you really think people are going to show up to watch a bunch of broken down men play softball? No. All right. Now, if we do this in a fun way where it's for social media and we go get a field and you got to face, some 16-year-old varsity fireballer, that's what I can line out.
That would be amazing.
And I wouldn't even want to get in the box. I'd be like, this is going to be too much.
No, I feel like people think softball is like diet baseball, but pitching and hitting, you just explain it's a totally different literal ball game.
It's a whole other monster. So, poor Angela, she's thinking about those days where she's playing in the dirt and out in the outfield and it's, church league softball and it's not going well. Can you imagine then the bravado of being able to say, well, why don't I just give me some varsity pitch? I'll smash the ball. In fact, Kimmer got into this big discussion point about making solid contact. And he goes, well, what if I hit it out over the fence but foul? Is that not solid contact? I was like, you're not going to hit it over the fence.
I don't think he's catching up to it,
You're
man.
not catching up to it. In fact, if you were to get it past, let's just say, second base. If it dribbled beyond second base, I would be like, okay, good job to you. There's no way.
This is
no chance.
This is how they say half of all men think they could land a 747 if they had to.
Okay,
this is
I could.
All right.
Yes.
A quick Google search brings up Jenny Finch strikes out Albert Pujols. So now that's the top of the top versus the top of the top.
That's an Olympian versus Albert Pujols. I know a handful of coaches in the area. Typically, they're teammates of my daughter, and then their dads are one of them's a varsity football coach at North Forsyth. Another one coaches softball over at another high school. I can get us a top-end varsity pitcher and watch them terminate the life out of not just me, okay? I've got a chance of putting it in play. But Kimmer and Pete, no chance. None at all.
I'm not getting in the box. Stick me in the outfield. I'll shag balls.
But that was the braggadocio. And then they're looking to make bets. And Kimmer's like, well, how much money? How much money should we put down on this? And all I'm thinking to myself is, how much do you want to lose?
Yeah,
that's
they're
bravado.
setting themselves up.
I was like, now granted, I would, as in a place of good faith, I would do some sort I would do several racks of ribs for those guys and leave it for them. So it's like, listen, I will smoke a bunch of ribs on my smoker to the winner. Now, what we have to do is find out what you're going to pay us, including Angela, because
men on this now, okay?
Because we're the ones that are going to win this without a problem. And by the time I line this thing out, you're not going to be facing the backup JV pitcher who only throws on Saturday after the main pitcher is I'm getting a horse, okay? There's going to be some young woman who's going to get out there and you're going to go, she's 16 or 17. I'm like, yes. And her nickname is Terminator.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We got to make them shirts, right? Whenever they strike somebody out, they should get a shirt that says, I struck out Kimmer, I struck out Flounder, all these people.
And I thought, how fun would it be? Just, again, from a comedic perspective, I think this would be a great idea if we were the ones that got to outfit Kimmer, with the helmet, with maybe the shield protector on the elbow.
I like this.
There's got to be something where we paint him camouflage, so the Marine in him feels pretty good about it.
I was thinking bright yellow, like Acuna Ozuna style. But
just give him some fake bling that he gets to wear to the plate.
Yeah.
So I think this could work, but I don't think a game works. I think it's more of a competition for social media. Do we get to air it? I don't know. I think that would be a little bit difficult. Maybe we might be able to do it during a Kimmer show at some point at some field, but this is brewing, and I think this can become something. But I'm just saying, I put y'all's butts on the line the same way I put my own yesterday.
Okay, we're in. I feel like this is a home run derby, except I don't know how many home runs they're going to get. This could be pretty brutal.
We talked before about it's not often a good idea to go up against the Kimmer, but here I think we've got something.
No, I would never typically challenge the Kimmer. Like, I thought about this last night. For as much as I can still believe I could hit a baseball, I would be afraid of hitting a softball. Now, what do I think Kimmer can do? Kimmer can murder us all. But I'm not certain he can hit a softball off a 15 or 16-year-old fireballer.
He'll bring bullets for loves.
Yes. Now, could he mow down everyone in our way? Like if there was a zombie apocalypse, get to Kimmer's house.
Okay, good to know.
Like this is what you should do.
That's important. We got to think about this stuff.
But if we're in a softball hitting competition, I don't think the chances are very good. So remains to be seen.
I can't wait for this.
I'm very excited about how this is going to play. So that's what we have on the agenda for the Morning Extra as we move through the day.
But that just sounds nice. Cooler full of beers, a little cookout going.
Right. And then
get all the boys out there and bring out the girls and let them strike us out.
And some of it would just be funny because there is something funny about grown men who think they can do things. As you said, Angela, half of all men think they can land the 747. Yes, I can. Okay. Me and Microsoft Flight Simulator have landed in far worse places, Angela. Far worse, far more dangerous. I make it a point when I get on a plane, I go, I can't go to sleep. My wife's like, well, why not? I'm like, because somebody might need to land the plane.
Oh, no.
And you are a doctor.
Yeah, and as a doctor, if something happens, I need to be ready to spring into action and tell you, hey, the reason why you don't feel good, it's because of your hay fever. You know?
So my husband's best friend is actually a doctor of aerospace engineering, and the running joke is if somebody goes, is there a doctor on the plane? He'll be like, I can help if the plane is sick. I can't help a person.
It appears the wing is burning.
There's a colonial woman on the wing of the plane.
Exactly. It's like, what have you managed to notice here, doctor? Well, it seems that the rudders are out. You know, it's like there's the stabilizers are not going well. But yeah, I don't know. Does your husband have any of these where he has braggadocio points where you just say like, there's no way?
Oh, he does think he could land the plane.
Oh, of course.
I gave him that stat. Like, can you believe? He's like, of course I can believe. I believe I can do it.
Well, men of confidence. I mean, there's a reason why you married him. I mean, I think there's a reason why I've been married 18 years because my wife's like, he thinks he can land the plane. We're all going to die. But he does believe he can. I don't see any problem with this.
There's something great about that, though, about like believing you can do something. Like, I don't know if I have something like that for me where I'm like, I believe I could do X, Y, Z. I have no, like, I think I'm pretty realistic, which is also super boring, right? Like, you want to believe.
So there's something that you do that I think you also downplay. Like, I have a friend of mine. We went to go, this was during the fall, and my daughter had like their fall musical, and they were doing High School Musical of all things.
Fun.
And so she's playing this one character, and she's dancing and singing and everything else. And he just keeps looking at him. He's like, bro, there's no way. Like, there's no way I would ever do anything like that. And I'm the same way. But the idea of getting up in front of people and being on camera or being in front of a crowd and just discussing whatever you're discussing, or whether it's policy points, right? That is a great fear to so many people. Public speaking, when people talk about like, well, I'd sooner die than speak publicly. You're like, oh, bring it on, let's go.
I am, but it's so different when you can see people. Like, no disrespect to the listeners, but if I could see all of you guys, I think I'd be freaking out a little. It feels so normal when we're just like hanging out and chatting that when you see everybody, you're like, oh, this is different.
That I think bothers me as well. I've gotten so used to trying to just make Tug laugh or Jure laugh, or make them surprised, or whatever we're bringing up. I do the show based off their facial expressions. When you give me this look of like, what did you just say? Like, that's the only person I've got. And I have to imagine other people are doing the same. If there was 100 people, I'd be like, what did I just say?
And the listeners are pretty much by themselves in their cars for the most part, and so they might laugh at something that they wouldn't laugh at around certain groups of their friends too.
True. That's another thing that you see about, and I love listening to podcasts where you'll have comedians talk about just the craft, because I've always thought it's fascinating, like that form of public speaking, and they'll talk about whenever you sign up or wherever you take the money and you do a corporate event, because if I'm sitting next to Laura Coward, Tug's wife, and somebody puts a very racy joke out there on stage, okay, she runs HR here. Like, she is like the right-hand woman to the owner of the company.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not going to laugh. Or I'm going to laugh, and the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to be in so much trouble on Monday.
So I watched this happen in real time. I was in college, and I went to Georgetown. It's a Catholic school. And our spring concert, they brought in an Atlanta native. I will never understand why they did this, but they brought in 2 Chainz.
Really? Okay. Okay.
And it was for like our spring concert, or maybe it was Midnight Madness. It was for some big campus event, right? And we go, and it's super fun. And we're like, there is a dorm full of priests, and then here's 2 Chainz, and I don't think I'm allowed to repeat any of the lyrics on
Probably
this
not.
show.
No.
Yep, I will shy away from that one. I will not be paying any FCC fines today. And I'm like, all the kids are having so much fun, but we're also watching like priests.
Are
and
you
professors,
self-editing?
And we're like, oh, big time.
As you want to just kind of like, rap along to what's going on, you're like, oh, Father.
Yeah,
Oh, you're just kind of
exactly.
glancing over.
That is exactly what is happening.
That's what happens when it comes to this office. There's times where there's something I want to say in one of the offices, and I go, oh, wait a minute. Like, there's things we can joke around about in front of these microphones, and as soon as we get out into the regular part of the office, I'm like, and this is more of an HR environment. I will keep from saying this.
What's interesting about my seat is there's a pane of glass between us. Of course, I can see through that, but I can also see the reflection in the door behind us, and there's a window there. So if there's a silhouette that kind of pops up and looks in, uh-oh.
Every now and then there'll be a moment where somebody in management, now oftentimes they open the door to ask about a schedule or to ask, hey, Jerry, can you help us out with this? There's a lot of times it's opportunity, but every now and then it's just a look and just a head nod of like, you guys, like, this is just wrong what you're doing. Those are those moments where we do that. All right, before we, as we are having fun getting off on a Friday, let's the last couple minutes of this segment, because this is the first time you've been in all week. We've now passed the 100-day mark. I'm curious what, Angela Morabito, the queen bee, the one that is known as Angela, what your take has been on the first 100 days of this Trump administration 2.0.
If I had to say it in one word, I would just call it busy. There are presidents who don't do in 4 years what President Trump has done in 100 days. If he had done just the border, if he had done just DOGE, if he had done just all of the education executive orders and all the stuff that's going on there, any one of those things would have been like this defining moment of the administration. But he's doing all of them at once, and he's just getting started.
See, I wanted to ask you this as well. Because when you had Chuck Schumer get up in front of the media and talk about, well, here's where Donald Trump's ratings are, and again, it's a giant psych op this week. Yeah. It's basically been sitting at 54%. And for anyone who says, well, he's underwater 10 or 20%, that's the psych op. That's the lie. The numbers have been consistent over the past 3 weeks. One of the things that I bring up with that is that oftentimes you'll have presidents over the first 100 days, they're not doing much. And so
they call it the honeymoon period.
Right. So they'll sit there at like the 58, 60 range, and everyone's like, oh, look how great things are going. The reason why Donald Trump is impressive at 54% is, as you said, how busy he's been in the first 100 days, where many times most of the presidents will wait until, hey, most of my stuff's really not cranking up till summer.
Right. And I feel like there's sort of this like freshman orientation period for a lot of them that have to learn the job. Well, President Trump didn't have to do that. He had 4 years to prepare and reload and put everything in place. So on day one, I mean, literally the day of his inauguration, he was signing orders in what used to be the Verizon Center, what is now, I think, Capital One Arena. But it was so cold, they shut everything down, and he sat there with a spotlight on him and got right to work in front of the public.
And I think that has been such a strategically intelligent thing, that he's so busy that the news media, that obviously is adversarial, they're busy talking about something from yesterday. He's on to the second or third thing of the next day already. So they're busy complaining about, in some cases, did you see that executive order he signed? Well, that was 5 executive orders ago.
Yeah. A lot of people had egg on their faces yesterday because of this whole Mike Waltz thing. I think he was a national security advisor. The announcement is he leaves the White House, and it's Signal Gate.
We got one, finally, a scalp.
And then it was, well, why is he leaving the White House? Because he's been appointed ambassador to the UN.
I thought it was very smart to make it a point. If you were ever going to say, hey, our standard here is 0 defects, we're not making errors, this was something that was done in a sloppy fashion, I'm not firing you. but I am going to make you an ambassador. It's like, okay. Like, everybody's happy then. And at that point, the media doesn't get their scalp either.
Yeah, Mike Waltz clearly has the president's trust. And once you have that, I think that's priceless, right? Donald Trump isn't going to let somebody who's really great go away like that just because of what the media has to say.
She's Angela Morabito. I'm Carlos Medina. That's the great Jure. When we get back, Tug's on vacation. He'll be back on Tuesday. When we get back, the issue of military recruitment. We are hitting a new golden age. We'll talk about that next week. Continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM.
Did you miss Neil Bortz?
I'm shocked.
Don't worry. He's live anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Oh, that radio show.
Did traffic cause you to miss some of the Kimmer Show? Get it on the app.
It's all the kids talked about on Monday at school.
With anytime show replays from the Kimmer, Bortz, the Morning Extra, Clay and Buck, and so much more. Plus local headlines and breaking news. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Advisory services offered through Masterplan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Masterplan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Masterplan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Masterplan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
Summer is here, and it's time to enjoy your outdoor oasis as a family. Don't know where to begin? At Stovall & Company, we have everything you need to make your landscaping dreams come true. From premium mulch and topsoil to a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, and annuals, Stovall has it all. Check us out at StovallInc.com.
You've likely heard about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too, with their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. An easy, affordable way to see how it could literally change your life. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain. In fact, the longer you take it, the more effective it is. Trying it couldn't be easier with their 3-week quick start for only $19.95. That's less than $1 a day, and it just takes a phone call. 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, every day you feel better is a day you live better. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Friday, May 2nd. 6 people were arrested in a Roswell motel in relation to a trafficking ring. Police rescued 2 sisters under the age of 16 and connected them with support services. Police say the girls met the men that were arrested on Snapchat. Those men remain behind bars without bond. Family and police met on Thursday evening in Marietta to hold a vigil for fallen officers from Cobb, Paulding, and Douglas counties. The vigil was organized by the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 13. Longtime Marietta Councilman Johnny Walker has announced he is not seeking re-election. He served as a councilman in Marietta for 12 years. A burn ban for most of North Georgia went into effect yesterday and will last throughout the summer. No yard waste or garbage is allowed to be burned. Today's weather, cloudy this morning with the possibility for showers this evening. Storms are predicted for Saturday, but will dry out on Sunday. Temperatures will reach the low 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
The U.S. Army, and I just wanted to bring this in because it is Military Appreciation Month. U.S. Army exceeding recruiting goals. They're at 115% of their recruiting goal.
You didn't need to spend more money. You just needed to change policy.
It's kind of like the border. You didn't need new laws. You needed a new president. And that's reflected in the Army exceeding their recruiting goals. They were off 25,000 per in each branch. I'm focusing
it was
on
across the board.
It was across the board. They were all way, 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 way off. And in 100 days, or at least the election through the 100 days, has changed the dynamic greatly. And I think having Pete Hegseth, a person that represents the military, that lived that and maybe even J.D. Vance. I would imagine J.D. Vance is a part of that equation too, and how people perceive what is going on in the military versus what was.
I loved during the cabinet meeting, Pete Hegseth did update the commander-in-chief as to, here's what our numbers are at. He's like, we're having a recruiting golden age right now. It's like, we are doing extremely well. This also to go along with the 8,000 servicemen and women that were let go during COVID of saying, y'all are all back in, here's back pay, here's your rank, we want you back here. Contact us, you want in, we got you back in. These are good things that are going on. But also, the judicious use of force. I think that that is also something that men and women and all the armed services appreciate, because this is a world where things can get pretty crazy, pretty chaotic, pretty quickly. And if you find yourself being put in that situation, well, then you're going to do your duty. But nobody wants to have themselves wasted in the way that we saw the Biden administration do in Afghanistan. That's where I think you have a level of confidence that goes out the window. And to then know, well, who's really running this thing? Who's making the calls here? And they can't tell you. You know the buck stops when it's going to be Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump.
Won't tell you. They could.
Won't tell you.
Won't tell you. That's the difference. You're exactly right. We know who's running the military. Donald Trump has great people around him. He's built a great staff. And something you brought up earlier is the variety of people that have different backgrounds, even differing opinions, not necessarily conservative. Donald Trump's not necessarily conservative. I would say Pete Hegseth, much more conservative. I would say J.D. Vance, much, much more conservative than Donald Trump. But look at that mix of people. RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, who served yet isn't a conservative, a traditional brand label conservative.
I mean, you went and got Linda McMahon with the idea that the Department of Education needs to be overhauled or taken apart entirely. And so you got a career businesswoman to say, your business now is to take this apart. And then you went and found somebody who was an icon of the left, who just found himself on the right and the world's richest man and said, hey, we need you to find waste, fraud, and abuse and bring your programmers to help us do it. Okay. It's a dream team.
It is.
This is fun.
And the crazy thing is that the left used to love Elon Musk. He was their icon. He was their go-to. He was the mover and the shaker, the innovator, the one that was saving the earth with this green, all the marketing campaign that goes into green energy, which we know is not green. It's not real. It's a marketing campaign. But they loved him. They loved him until he made that fatal error.
Well, Elon Musk, if you remember, and this time, I think this gets lost to history at times. He's the one who came out and pointed out that he did not have a home on the Democrat side anymore. And he said it was because of their level of cruelty, that just how mean they are. And at the time, I think I kind of went at like, all right, so he's jumping kind of in the middle, and all right, he'll splash around the libertarian pool. But when the rubber meets the road, he's going to be a hardcore liberal Democrat. And that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
And he didn't really announce his allegiance until after Donald Trump got shot in Pennsylvania, that you then had that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I'm voting for that guy. That's what he tweeted or X'd out that day.
And I think the same thing for RFK, right? Wasn't that kind of the coming together point? Because RFK reached out to Donald Trump about being shot in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and that started the dialogue between the two of, we don't agree on a lot of deals, but no one is better and who's been talking about the overall health of this country and the way we need to clean it up like you have. Like you made this, along with the Means, with Callie Means and his sister as well, to go along with RFK Jr. Those are the people at the forefront of talking about all the issues we had going on. The explosion of cancers, how we're taking care of our food, how we're producing our food. So you're talking about like this team that came together that hasn't been like this since what? Probably 100 years ago, when it was just, okay, let me line out as many of my friends and political appointees as possible. This is actually a mix of people who have different ideas and different opinions, and I think that's the overall strength of it.
And I brought this up before, so some people have probably heard it, but I think it's worth repeating again. The Signal chat, as I know it was sloppy, shouldn't have happened. Nothing came of it because nothing happened because of it. But it did give you just a peek behind the curtain that you wouldn't have otherwise seen. And just what Los is saying, the difference of opinion, the difference of ideas, it's not just yes, sir, men. No. It's not just yes, men. It's people that have a difference of opinion, and those differences of opinion are welcomed. They may not go with your choice, but you're willing and free to say it.
No, they may not influence that particular action.
Right.
But if something, whether it goes right or wrong, your opinion on it might influence the next action. So that's the idea of being cognitively able to discuss your ideas, your opinions. And so the next time you might be the deciding factor as to why they do what they do or decide not to.
Decide not to. Can I give you one more layer of this?
Yeah, I love layers.
Well, because
like onions.
It was announced yesterday that Nicole Shanahan, she was going to be RFK when he was running for president. She was his pick for VP. She's been very vocal about so many different things, but specifically through health and the support of RFK. She was never a Trump Republican ever, and found herself changing her mind. This is how much she's changed her mind. She has just signed a deal to do a podcast for Glenn Beck's Blaze Media.
Okay.
How about that? If you would have told me 6 months ago that I would have been like, you are nuts. There's not a chance. Maybe it should be back it up to a year ago. But regardless, in recent history, I would have said, no way. There's not a chance of that happening. This woman has changed so many of her beliefs and ideas because of what she's seen from Donald Trump, the things that he's done, the people that he's brought in. And it all aligns with her beliefs and the system that and the way that she wants to live. So much so that she's now partnered with a conservative icon in Glenn Beck.
I want to be very open and honest about this. I don't listen to conservative podcasts. Like, I don't watch conservative network television or cable television. I just don't do it. I prefer for somebody to have a point of view that is not mine, so that when they're having a discussion, I might sit back and say, I think that this guest here would probably say this. And when they do and it aligns with me, I'm like, wow, okay, that's pretty interesting. When they don't, I go, all right, I want to understand why. It's interesting that she would then be somebody on The Blaze, because The Blaze, I think more than anything, when you look at what they've added, they have tried to get a significant amount of different people. Now, all of them kind of have a view of the Constitution's important, free speech is important.
And so, and Nicole Shanahan
the Bill of Rights is important.
Obviously falls in line with that.
But they may have different views of, let's say, abortion. But that's fine. It should be available to you.
And I bet that me and Nicole Shanahan, or you and Nicole Shanahan, would have differing opinions on a variety of things.
Sure. There's so many economic areas where I have a difference of opinion. Like, I still remember having to argue it as far as advocating for a reduction in the corporate tax rate. And by the time it happened, I'm standing over the grave of that person going, I told you I was right. See how that works. But it was a discussion. I still remember, it was a decade ago, and I still remember being a big advocate for that in basically 2016, 2017. And by the time it happened, then we saw where it went. That, to me, is what I'm looking for. I want that discussion where my ideas are not shared, or my ideas are not like the starting point.
Because you already know what you think.
Exactly.
I don't need that regurgitated to me. I already know what I think and believe.
There was something that, and we had this from the last segment when we were talking about Clementine, and that was a young woman who had all these horrible things happen to him. And I was listening to this one podcast. Actually, I'll take it back. This was a small part. It was like a 10-second snippet of the Joe Rogan podcast. And I remember in my mind going oh, mental note about that. That's pretty interesting. Rogan talked about how his gay friends hate what is going on in this country in terms of puberty blockers and chemical castration.
Right. Yep.
Because he said most of these children, he goes, some of them are just 7 or 8 years old. He goes, and they're gay. What has happened is that within this trans world, you can't be gay.
Right. You have to go.
We got to flip you over here. It's so you're eliminating gay people. Well, that was something that I had never pondered. I'd never considered that. And that is something that you would probably never hear on the right either. But that was an idea to go, man, the next time I'm around my gay friends, and it'll be football season because that's when we all get together and tailgate and everything else. Yeah, that's when we do our thing. I'm going to ask that question. Does this portion of this bother you guys? And I'm willing to bet it probably does.
What about because you have a friend that's trans that you've talked about. Wonder what.
I wonder what he thinks about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to, and I've asked, hey, you want to do a podcast? Hey, do you want to come on the show? And she is just private about, now, not private, and puts it on Facebook, but not living out loud. And in fact,
but there's a difference in being activist about it.
Not at all.
And then just
not at all. Life. Yeah, just here's what I'm comfortable doing. I'm living my life. And by the way, this is as a late 40s year-old, mid to late 40s at the time. So I think he went to she 6 or 7 years ago. And that's when we talk about the difference when you have one group pushing for this 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds when they haven't even gone through puberty yet. And yet, I don't think any of us have an issue with, hey, you're 46, 47, 48, and you decide you want to do this. Now, are there underlying mental conditions? Probably.
Yes. Right.
More than likely. But you're an adult.
But I'm glad you said that because that always gets pinned on us.
Yes.
I have no desire to be rude, mean, hateful to anyone.
If it makes you a better, nicer person, if you feel better in your skin, listen, it's not affecting me.
I don't agree with the lifestyle. I'll be the first to admit that. I don't agree with it. I'm not the arbiter. I mean, that's between you and the good Lord, man. That's the way I look at it.
Caitlyn Jenner seems very happy.
Absolutely. And I have no ill will toward Caitlyn. I've told the story about down at the SEC championship. I knew that the lady that I talked to and got directions from wasn't a lady. I knew it. What did I do? I treated her with kindness. I treated her with respect. I don't agree with the lifestyle. I have no desire to be anything but kind.
I just have a very simplistic view of a lot of this when it comes to, because we've had this discussion. I've thought about, hey, what kind of mental illness is my friend going through? And keep in mind, this is somebody who is married, has been married for a long time, and when she decided to go the direction, her wife is okay, you're still the person that I fell in love with.
Which is an amazing dynamic.
It's a different package, but here's how it's going to be. So, they have that portion of the relationship. But I like I said, a simple view of things. I think if you're going to visit peace on other people, you have to be peaceful yourself.
I agree. Yeah. I think
if you are a rage machine, I think it's very hard to be able to treat other people with peace.
Without a doubt.
And so there's a part of me that just says, if you feel better about you, then maybe that's better for the rest of the world, the rest of your family, everyone else around you.
Sure.
And so that's the part where, again, I don't agree with it, but if it makes you feel better about you, maybe you're making other people feel better about themselves.
My point of view
it's my hippie viewpoint.
No, which I appreciate. And I think really aligns with mine for the most part. I don't think our point of view on that's very different at all. Because I have no desire. And mine is definitely a faith-based point of view. I'm going to be kind, even to people that I don't agree with, people that I think get things wrong, because I get things wrong every day. I have no desire to be anything but good to every person that I encounter. That's how I want to live my life.
But in going back to talking about, was it Nicole Sheridan with the Blaze?
Nicole Shanahan.
Shanahan.
Yeah.
It takes a different point of view to visit these different ideas on people in the same way that we have liberals that listen to us.
Yeah, sure.
They're like, oh, I never really thought of it that way. it takes different sets of ideas for you to, at some point, maybe you take some of them and say, that's ridiculous. Other times you might say, okay, that kind of expands the way I'm thinking about these things. I love when you get those sorts of pieces of information, because if it causes you to see something a little bit differently or from another perspective, I think that's important.
No, it's a good thing.
That's a good thing. What we've now seen on the other side is a rejection of anything other than their own view. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 2nd. The Atlanta Braves are back in action tonight as the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers are in town for the first of a 3-game series starting tonight at Truist Park. It'll be Grant Holmes on the mound for the Braves tonight. He'll be opposed by Yoshi Yamamoto. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Golden State Warriors look to knock out the Houston Rockets tonight as they play Game 6 from San Francisco. The Warriors do lead that series 3-2. That tip-off is set for 9 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Ask not what your AC unit can do for you, but what Dobbs Heating and Air can do for your AC unit. You need to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape, and Dobbs has a ridiculous deal. $39 for a tune-up of your home cooling system for extra 106.3 listeners. Get your AC ready for summer for only $39. Can't beat it. Tune up and be super cool and comfortable this summer thanks to Dobbs Heating and Air. Head to DobbsHVAC.com to become part of the Dobbs family and experience the Dobbs difference. DobbsHVAC.com.
This Mother's Day, don't just buy a gift, make one. Only at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, you can build mom a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry, designed by you, crafted by our master jewelers. Here's how it works. Pick a ring, bracelet, or necklace from our Mother's Day collection, pick the birthstones that represent your family, and our master jewelers hand-set them into something that's hers forever. May 11th is coming up quick, but D. Geller & Son has been working gifting magic since 1939. We'll craft your perfect Mother's Day gift right here in our shop, so you can have a totally custom one-of-a-kind gift in days, not weeks. No shipping, no mystery. Pick the jewelry, pick the gemstones, and we'll make it perfect. Nothing cookie cutter, nothing off the shelf, just real precious gemstones and jewelry, real meaning, and one-of-a-kind memories. Prices start at just $3.95 because at D. Geller & Son, unforgettable doesn't mean unaffordable. So come build your own Mother's Day jewelry only at D. Geller & Son, crafting unforgettable memories since 1939. In Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Are home repairs piling up? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Relax. We've got you covered. From drywall dings and leaky faucets to deck repairs and trim replacement, we're your one-stop shop for everything for your home needs. No more juggling multiple contractors. Just call us at the Trusted Toolbox and we'll handle it. Your home deserves the best, and we don't want you breaking your back trying. Call the Trusted Toolbox today at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. The Trusted Toolbox, your one-stop shop for home repairs and more.
What do you give the mom who gave you everything? This Mother's Day, give her the gift of a lifetime. Her memories digitized forever with Legacy Box. Legacy Box is the simplest and safest way to preserve aging home movies, photos, and film. Just fill the box, send it in, and their team of experts does the rest. Your originals are always returned, plus new digital copies on the cloud, easy to stream and to share. And over 1 million families have trusted Legacy Box. It's the perfect way to protect mom's wedding video, your baby tapes, and every single milestone that made her mom. As Tanya and I become empty nesters, we need to memorialize those special moments while they're still fresh in our minds. And it's our responsibility to tell our family story. It's up to us men to celebrate the moms in our lives. Give them something timeless with Legacy Box. Right now, get 60% off with Legacy Box's best Mother's Day sale ever. Buy today, send when you're ready. LegacyBox.com/records. Claim this special offer, 60% off for a limited time. LegacyBox.com/records.
You can make a lot of good arguments the federal government can help out in a lot of ways, but I'd say a good 40 to 50% of the federal government spending is wasteful.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. No Tug, you got Los, and Angela Morabito along with Jure will be taking you until 10 a.m. this morning. The 6 o'clock hour is thankfully brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. Get yourself a Subaru. Go over to Subaru of Gwinnett to get that squared away, Jerry.
Poor Tug.
Poor Tug. So last night, you weren't on this text chain, and thankfully not, Angela.
Uh-oh.
Tug and his wonderful wife, for their wedding anniversary, they decided to splurge, and they bought tickets to go see Pearl Jam. The second night in town. And those are, I know that you're a Taylor Swift lady, and so those are pricey too. That's probably the most pricey ticket we get that rolls through town, at least of late. But Pearl Jam is right out there, and Tug starts texting us before, like during the tailgate portion.
I mean, it starts at like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
He's like, I'm a little tipsy.
He's having a good time.
I'm a little tipsy. He's like, okay. Then he starts sending us videos. He's like, man, even flow hit me like a certain way. And then he's like, man.
They played an encore for
Encore. They played Alive. And I'm like, that's a great song to play as an encore. Trust me. Just as Angela's like, what is this like? So the Pearl Jam from like 91? I'm like, yes, trust me. These are all really cool songs.
I'm going to get so much heat for this in the family group chat because my dad and my brother know music so well, and I am just kind of clueless on this stuff.
I'll ask you this, and this will be sidebar.
Okay.
Have you ever seen The Princess Bride?
A long time ago, yes.
Okay, good. So that was the crap that had happened earlier this week where Tug had never seen it and Jerry had never seen it in our office, and their friends, all of our listeners went after them. Like, how have you never seen Princess Bride?
I feel like you gotta see that one.
So, yes, we all find a way to like catch it. In this case, it'll be Pearl Jam 10, you not knowing these songs, but that's fine. So, by the time he's texting us at, what was it, 10 something?
It was after midnight.
11?
It was after midnight.
I just know my phone just kept beeping, and I glance over at it, and he's doing the, need to go get some fries. Now, what that refers to is there was a time when Tug went to go see a show, and then he sent me a video that night, and he was at the drive-thru at some fast food restaurant, and he's like, Los, I'm hungry. I got to get some fries. And he couldn't even say French fries. So when he told us he needed some fries, I'm like, he's having a great time.
I love it.
And apparently they wouldn't give him any fries on the way out.
Yeah, he couldn't go buy fries from wherever the concession stand was.
Oh, last night?
Last night. So
I hope he gets fries this morning.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope he finds himself like some Waffle House, something greasy. Got to
biscuits
sop all
and gravy,
that up.
maybe.
Yeah, that's the breakfast of champions when you're on the struggle bus. Yeah, you got to find a way. But that's the other thing too, and I hope you don't mind me pointing this out. You've said like, hey, I have issues with gluten.
Yes.
I would imagine that makes it difficult to find that like hearty thing because a lot of it's like full of gluten, like big old biscuit, like that's what you do to bounce back.
Yeah, the comfort food thing is definitely tough for me, and like fast food restaurants, that's all tough. I am going to self-shame for something I did.
You're going to be perfect on this show.
This is something I did a couple weekends ago. It was going to a friend's house. They were making some greasy food. It was stuff I couldn't really have. But we had leftover Thai soup. My husband is an amazing chef.
I'm on board. You said Thai soup.
We both love Thai food. It's incredible. I took to someone else's home a thermos full of soup, and I drank it and pretended it was coffee.
No shame.
I see no issue here.
Thank you.
And I'm pretty much the one who rules on this. Yesterday we were ruling on when you can wear a concert shirt to what concert, when you can wear a sports jersey to what sporting event, and when it comes to bringing your own food to somebody else's event, I take no issue with this, especially when you can always point out the gluten thing, but you can always say, I am here to have fun, and part of the fun is I sometimes have to bring my own supplies.
Yeah.
I pass no judgment on this, but I was raised, like, no matter what, if somebody offers you some food, you eat it and you eat all of it. But I understand.
Yes.
If you've got a medical, like, that's a thing.
You got an issue with gluten. Nobody wants to have you sick at the party.
No.
So, totally fine. You're in the clear here.
Okay,
You're in a
that's
good place.
So the soup thing gets worse.
Oh, no. What'd you do?
I've taken a roadie of soup in a solo cup.
Okay, no problem with this either.
Because we were leaving to go somewhere, and I'm like, what? Nobody's going to know.
dude, I eat vegan. Like, I have to bring stuff everywhere.
That's probably
so I'm
hard
fine.
too. What do you do at like a Waffle House? How do you navigate that?
Hash browns with
Okay.
mushrooms. Yeah.
Okay.
So no, this is part of what we go about doing, especially when we're ever in any new town. We have to figure out, okay, where's the nearest place we can get
With
what we want to get.
Travel, that's got to be
Right.
tough.
And for my wife, she was having migraines on like a 1 to 2 a month basis. She hasn't had one in 5 years. So you want to talk about somebody who's like more dedicated to it?
Amazing.
Like, I could cheat and be like, I'll get some yummy seafood. She's like, no, because migraines are no fun.
Yeah.
So that's what she's done.
The worst for me is airports. I got stuck in Detroit once because I had a flight. They couldn't get me on until the next morning. It was a layover, and the first flight was delayed. There was nowhere open, and my dinner was pickles and barbecue potato chips. And I'm like, this is such a struggle meal.
Dinner.
It was girl dinner, but it was like sad girl dinner.
Yeah, it is
so
sad
now,
girl dinner.
I go to any airport like I'm about to survive in the wild.
By all means.
Oh, yeah. TSA pulls me over every single time.
Yeah,
They're
no,
like,
and they'll
what's
ask
this?
you.
I'm like, it's chicken parm.
Yeah. I have a dietary issue. I can't eat here.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Here you go. Thank you. Trust me, I would do the same thing. All right, let's finish up this hour, all brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett, with this throwback piece of audio. When we've had the media talking about in the last couple of weeks, we knew that there were issues when it came to Joe Biden, but it wasn't like we were covering it up. It wasn't like we were part of this. We had our suspicions. No, you were in on all of it. You were lying the entire time. I want you to take a listen to this piece of audio. This was leading up to the debate schedule. This is when Joe Biden had one of those pre-recorded, I'm going to take shots at Donald Trump and we're going to have a debate. And I want you to listen to the commentators. This is from MSNBC, how they're all fired up that Joe is ready to debate and he's sharp as ever.
Trump has said he'd debate Biden anytime, any place. It looks like Joe Biden has taken him up on that. Let's see what the president's saying.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debates. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Wow, nothing subtle about that round.
Still stuck on, I hear you're free on Wednesdays. Wow. Your thoughts?
The best part of this announcement that was just made is that announcement of the President of the United States. Brief, punchy, clearly understandable, basically saying, let's go, tough guy. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for from Joseph Biden.
I wonder whether his people, who understand the less people hear of Trump, the better the campaign does. I wonder if he's going to find an excuse to back out of these debates, too.
I think he will definitely try to. I mean, the reality is, to use, I come from Brownsville, Brooklyn. Donald Trump is a political punk. He does not want to go on stage without a cheering squad, without all of the things that he needs to make him feel all charged up. One-on-one.
And you know this because you grew up around a performer with James Brown.
Right.
When you say something stupid and there's dead silence, it lands with a thud. And Donald Trump speaks so much nonsense, there will be no crowd.
There's no crowd
cheer and hoot and holler and laugh. And those stupid words will just hang in the air.
When Joe Biden said that we finally beat Medicaid, there was no crowd to cover it up. There was no help for him. He was out there all alone to the point where you had the moderators trying, like, look over here. Like, they were trying to help him because he was so lost. And to hear that, with the very first time when that video got played of Joe Biden challenging him, the first thing we said on this radio station was, there's 7 jump cuts in that. You could hear them. They had to piece together 7 different pieces
to
make that thing happen. And we noticed it just as just people that work in audio were like, there's 7 jump cuts in there.
You could always tell by the eyebrows.
Yes.
It's going to sound so insane. But when you look at those old videos that they would push out of Biden of like, we propped him up and we made him read a teleprompter for 18 different times so we got the content we needed, there will be a jump cut and his eyebrows will be 2 inches higher.
Yeah,
I'm like,
from
what
thinking
are-
of yep.
Yeah, I'm like, what are they doing to this man? He looks shocked.
That's just that little throwback to when the media tells you, well, we weren't part of this. You were up to your eyeballs in it, and you can hear them. They're a cheering section, and they really believed that this guy was going to debate Donald Trump into oblivion because he won't have anybody to lean on. He won't have a crowd. Joe Biden, then June 27th, media died. We found out this guy is a cadaver. He's barely able to function. And what did his wife tell us, Angela? You did it, Joe. You answered all the questions. Yay!
Yay! Yeah. Oh, he's sharp as a tack behind closed doors, though.
It's just that little reminder. All right, as we get into the 7 o'clock hour, RFK Jr. dropped a truth bomb that you'd only previously heard on this radio station this week. We'll talk about that next. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Don't let your afternoon drive get bogged down with traffic and weather breaks. Just enjoy the Kimmer Show from 3 to 6 p.m.
Twice this afternoon, Donald Trump just opened up the media, brought him into the Oval Office and said, let's talk. Here's a guy who's calling his predecessors stupid, dumb, maybe corrupt. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Any second grader would be dumb enough to know that's the worst contract ever. I mean, it's just unbelievably just unloading day after day after day. And it's right there in front of God and everybody. I'm telling you, if I were a teacher in school and they were still in class, I would go live to these things and cover it so people could see. Have you ever seen anything in your life about openness and just being real? He's become more human than he's ever been to anybody just by being himself and real. And I mean, I'm flabbergasted.
Don't worry, it's only the Kimmer on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Tell me one single policy idea the Democrats have come up with since they got wiped out in this last election. Nothing. Nada.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.
It's May 2nd, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. For everyone with a sweet tooth, today is National Truffle Day. When was the chocolate truffle invented? Well, that's open to some debate. Some say it's 1895, while others believe it was invented by mistake in 1920 by the famed chef Auguste Escoffier. But everyone agreed that France was the birthplace of the truffle. Also on this date, baseball's The Streak for the Iron Horse Lou Gehrig came to an end in 1939. The Yankees legend had played every game since taking over first base duties in 1925, and at the age of 36, Gehrig told manager Joe McCarthy he wanted out of the lineup, ending his streak of consecutive games played at 2,130. If it's your birthday today, you share it with professional wrestler and action movie star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Born in 1972. I'm Tushar Saxena with your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Graduating in a golden age. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump told them at the University of Alabama last night.
Everybody should believe in the American dream. It's real, it's there, and it's right before you.
Telling the class of 2025.
Borders are not racist. Speech is not violence. America is good. Terrorists are bad. Men can never become women. Police are not criminals, and criminals are not victims.
The speech came after a change at the White House, where Fox's Jared Halpern reports.
Mike Waltz is out as National Security Advisor, but is being nominated by President Trump to serve as ambassador at the UN. The move follows weeks of pressure on Waltz to step down, following revelations his office accidentally added a journalist to a private text chain about sensitive military operations against the Houthis in Yemen.
The president's going to the Supreme Court, trying to deport more Venezuelans here illegally after a federal judge kept in place a temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan nationals. There's been another ruling against against the Trump administration.
U.S. District Court Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr., a President Trump appointee, rules the 18th century Wartime Alien Enemies Act cannot be used against people who the Trump administration claims are gang members invading the U.S., that the president is misusing the law.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. That act was used in March to deport hundreds of alleged gang members sent to El Salvador. Today, President Trump will send his budget proposal to Congress, where Republicans are already working on a big bill to fund the Trump agenda.
Per the Wall Street Journal, the president wants to make deep cuts in foreign aid, renewable energy, and education. The president is aiming to cut non-defense discretionary spending by more than $160 billion, lower than the $1 trillion Elon Musk had promised to slash.
Fox's Madeline Rivera referencing Musk's work at Doge. Democrats claim the Republican budget plan will make cuts to key programs. America's listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There's a better way. Pure Talk is offering a free brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 with a qualifying plan. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Dial pound 250 and say keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
For hourly Fox News updates and the best in conservative news and talk, keep it on Extra 1063 or download the Extra 1063 app.
You feel better now when you get this song?
I feel so seen and known and loved. I'm all about the intro music.
There you go. That's Angela Morabito. You would know her as Angie's Pissed if you happen to follow her on X. It's a version. It's Angie's List, and then there's Angie's Pissed.
Oh, I feel so dumb now. I should have taken that handle.
See that? Exactly.
Angie's Pissed?
You can always change
pissed
it.
on the internet.
That's
a
right.
lot.
It's Angela Morabito. She's going to be with us today and on Monday as Tug enjoyed Pearl Jam last night, and him and his wife were headed back to go watch the conference tournament for his son. They're third ranked going into it. We're wishing him, Jacob, really good luck for that. And this could be the last handful of college games before. Looks like he's got another really good opportunity, and it looks like it's going to be fully paid for. So we're like, the kid hit 340 this year. Like
You're kidding. That's amazing.
He lit it up this year, and he bet on himself. By the way, 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Zant Law Group. You have any kind of issue that goes on, personal injury, somebody's messing with you when it comes to insurance, Van Zant Law Group, reach out to them. So he was at College of Charleston, and he had gotten hurt, had a high ankle sprain that took him out for the season, because the baseball season, as many games you play, if you're going to miss, let's say 6 weeks, that's a ton of time you're going to miss. So at that point, it's going to redshirt. Well, so he had the opportunity. He can go back to College of Charleston, and they were paying for quite a bit of it, because in baseball, the scholarships have now changed. But when I was playing, it was 11 2/3. That was the full amount of scholarships that were allocated to baseball.
Okay.
Well, you have a 25-man travel squad that's allowed by the NCAA. So there's plenty of people that are on like 10%, 5%, maybe 20%. The only people that ever get anywhere near a full ride are pitchers.
Wow.
So if you're like a second baseman and they're paying for 10% of your school, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You're like, man, this is great. So it's now changed and there's more scholarships available. But when you're at College of Charleston, that's an expensive school. So rather than going back, Jacob decided, I'm going to go play over at Sumter and see if I can put some numbers together and see if somebody wants to bring me in and make a bigger offer. After a 340 season, and it looks like he's going to have some options, and the one that's out there would basically pay for everything moving forward.
That's so cool.
And College of Charleston already said they want him back as a graduate assistant so that he could study for his master's. This is how you use collegiate athletics and education. Like,
what
this is how it
launch
works.
Pad.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Imagine that. It's like, we're going to pay for your school, you're going to play ball, and then after you're done there, another university says, we want you to come in here and coach and help out as a graduate assistant, and we're going to pay for your master's.
Unreal.
Yeah. And
round of applause, Jacob. That's amazing.
Good job, Jacob Cowart. And so, especially with your background, having worked in the Department of Education, I think oftentimes we're always looking for education to work for young people.
Yes.
This is a scenario where I'm like, athletics and education working for Jacob Coward.
Completely. And you have to be entrepreneurial within the system, because if you just get funneled through the factory schooling model, I'm talking starting in pre-K, odds of it working for you are really, really slim. It can happen, but it's hard. You have to work within all the options you've got. And a lot of the work that I do with the Defense of Freedom Institute is trying to make sure people have as many options as possible.
And I bring this up with my wife, and a lot of it is club volleyball oriented, but it's school as well. We talk about how you have to be an advocate for your kid, because being an advocate for your kid, you're like the only one. Like, you might be fortunate that there might be a handful of teachers here or there along the way, but the system is not built to be an advocate for your kid. The system is there to design a worker bee.
Yes.
And then we'll release worker bee out into the world. If you want something more, you got to push for something more.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely have to. And I think that's one of those like big changes that came along with COVID. I mean, look, I was working in the Department of Ed when COVID hit. And in the span of about 96 hours, my entire career changed, because we went from having to beg for coverage of, please somebody care about the schools, please, our test scores are terrible, please somebody care about this, to, oh wait, all eyes are on us now, okay, we got to make the most out of this moment. Well, here we are 5 years later, and this moment hasn't ended. So I'm so grateful to all the parents and the teachers who realized, okay, yeah, we could go back to school, but why would we go back to something that's not working? We got to make it better.
I love that you put it that within a 96-hour period, it all changed, because within that 96-hour period, as I feel pretty good about, I know what's going to happen here. Like, I'd already had like a box of masks head to the house. They haven't even started the mask
you were
mandates.
Prepared.
I was already like, okay, here's again. Listen, I endorse true prep, all right? Like, I try to get ready for certain things. And so I already, you can go to my Amazon orders. You're like, dude, you were ordering those in January. I'm like, because I knew what I felt like what was coming.
Wow, okay.
So one of the things that popped up was when we started to hear about the school system and what they were considering, I think it was not until I got to my third Best Buy that I found another computer. Because I felt that if I tried to put two girls on one computer, it was going to be a fight all the time. And so I set up an entirely different terminal in another part of the house so that both of them could jump on and do their schoolwork. But that I think really started to focus on what they were learning on an everyday basis that parents were not typically, whether it be allowed or we were just never fortunate enough to see what they were doing every single day until then.
Yeah, because people saw the mismatch of like, wait, how come my fourth grader really can't read? They're struggling through basic sentences that brought home straight A's every year. Well, that's because grades don't mean what they used to. There's massive grade inflation, and schools aren't delivering the product that they used to. Now, the technology thing is fascinating, because one of the things that we saw districts do and really encouraged more to embrace this was they turned their school buses into mobile hotspots, because not everybody in the country had Wi-Fi, and if you don't have Wi-Fi and your school's online, well, you can't even go to remote school.
Like you in this office right now.
That's right. I am on a hotspot. But they turned their buses into hotspots, and they would go and take the school bus and park it in the middle of a neighborhood. And that was school hours for those kids. Was it a perfect solution? Absolutely not. But was it a lifeline for people in need? Yes. And I give those bus drivers and the people who figured out that solution a whole lot of credit.
7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Zant Law Group. Let me bring up someone who has an issue with Wi-Fi. I don't have one issue. In fact, I'm trying to put more Wi-Fi in my house. I'm like, is this going to be cancerous? We'll see.
One way to find out.
RFK Jr., who will tell you about, well, turn off your Wi-Fi when you go to bed. I'm not turning off my Wi-Fi for anybody anytime. Okay, we just got to figure this thing out. Hopefully you're just wrong on this one. But, again, I respect what he's doing as a Director of Health and Human Services, because first off, getting the crazy dyes out of our food. Okay, there's a good start. Whether or not we get to a point where it'll be a free speech issue, whether or not the pharmaceutical companies are not going to be able to advertise anymore. That's going to be another huge fight when that occurs. But one of the things he brought up, and this was during the cabinet meeting about 48 hours ago, he talked about the child trafficking issues that have gone on under the Biden administration, where it was 300,000 children. Like, we don't know where they're at.
That's a mass atrocity.
We can't track them. I had made the point, like 12 hours before, like it was a day before this cabinet meeting.
Yep.
I brought up how one of the things that will not be discussed about the open border is that Yeah, we'll talk about some of these rapists and murderers that came in and the horrible story that happened with Laken Riley and these horrible travesties. But one of the things that will not be brought up because it's way too dark, it's way too nasty, is the amount of child sex trafficking and ultimately organ harvesting that is going on. Yes, it's the sort of thing that turns your stomach.
It's devastating.
Yes, but this is the dark underbelly of this black market. And my complaint was no one's talking about it. Like, no one is bringing up what's happened to these kids and saying they are now sex slaves. Had a story that broke yesterday about a 16-year-old and 18-year-old that came into this country a couple of years ago. They found them, they located them, and they're like, this is how they've been used every day since they've been here. Awful story. I want you to take a listen, though. This is RFK Jr. He's saying what you're not allowed to say, and I appreciate the hell out of it.
We have ended HHS as the role as the vector, the principal vector in this country for child trafficking. And during the Biden administration, HHS became a collaborator in child trafficking and for sex and for slavery. And we have ended that, and we're very aggressively going out and trying to find these children, the 300,000 children that were lost by the Biden administration.
HHS, as he said, basically became, for lack of a better term, it was a facilitator. It was, we'll help you get them into the country sooner. You can move them on to wherever you're going to. We're not doing DNA testing at the border. So if you say you're the parent, well then, okay, HHS is going to help you move it right along. And what it did, it put 300,000 children into sex slavery, child slavery. 100,000, we know where they're at. We've been able to locate and be like, okay, these kids are safe. Here's what it is. We have 200,000 kids that came across the border during the Biden administration that we have no idea where they're at and what's happened to them.
And that right there should blow up once and for all the leftist lie that an open border is somehow compassionate. Oh, this is the kind thing to do, is let them in. No, it's not. It consigns these children to a life of misery. And because why? Not because we didn't have the laws on the books, but because Biden just decided not to enforce it.
I think one of the things that messed with me was, did you ever see Sound of Freedom? Did you ever see that movie?
I haven't seen it, but I'm familiar with the content.
Ooh, okay. So it's one of those movies, you watch it once.
Okay.
And while it is a dramatization of a guy's real life of what his job was to do was to try and locate these child sex victims, many of them south of the border, South of America.
Okay.
And there's something that Jim Caviezel playing, the main character, the main protagonist that he says in the movie, and I've heard the actual real life counterpart say it as well, and it just will mess you up. Says you can take a drug and you can sell it one time to somebody for $20. It's like you can sell a kid plenty of times in one day, $100 at a time.
Oh.
It's like, which one's more valuable to you? And that's the disgusting aspect when you talk about 200,000 kids that we don't know where they're at or what's going on to us.
Just repeated trauma that's going to follow
Over
them
and
for
over
life.
and over.
That is going to rattle around in my brain for a very long time.
And then you turn them loose into this country, and they've been so physically, sexually, mentally abused, and you just want them to act like normal people when they age out of this process, or you don't know what exactly goes on with them from there.
Yeah.
This is the atrocity that only RFK Jr. has brought up. Like, we've brought it up on this radio station, but no one wants to talk about this because it's too horrific, and it also blows up the left's argument every single time, just as you said, that an open border is compassionate.
Yeah, and we've got to admit as a country, just like Secretary Kennedy said, that HHS was complicit, right? Like, this was the nonprofit industrial complex. There are shelters, which, quote unquote, shelters, they're not sheltering anybody. They got paid millions of dollars and nobody's in the shelter.
There's one in San Antonio that we did a story on.
Really?
Where they had received, I think Doge had located it, and I think the number was like $25 million. It was given that money to handle overflow of people that could not be housed in the regular facilities. It had been empty for 2 years. Yet, here came the tax dollars. So it's just boondoggle of where this money's going. If there's one thing that's been a celebration point, and if it was good, the media would still be playing it right now. We had the story about the Q1 2025. There's been a small contraction, 0.3%. Now, the media ran with it for about an hour.
Yeah.
And why did it go away so quickly? Because the contraction point had to do with the reduction in government tied into new regulations and Doge.
Yep.
That is where suddenly it was like, wait a minute, they are cutting enough to where, are you saying we were artificially creating growth, GDP in this country because we kept hiring more and more government workers Yes.
Oh, yeah, we drugged up our GDP number and juiced it artificially by just spending money we don't have on things we don't need. That's the big lie of the left.
I'm so glad from you having served in the administration before. When I bring up things that are critical of the administration, of previous administrations or even that administration, you know immediately what the game is.
Yeah.
And so I think now that we have this different direction, the reason why I'm like smiling and going about my day, and as I said, like I'm doing a dance. Look at me, I'm dancing. It's because there's so many points where when you say, yeah, this is going the right direction, you've been in the soup. I was like, when you say this is going the right direction, I'm like, this is going the right direction.
Yeah, and finally, like righting the ship is no small task. Just what Doge has done. All right, I have an opinion here that may be very unpopular in this room. I think Doge should last forever.
I will. Okay, you do your thing, and then I'm going to sit back and then I'm going to starting braggadocio. Go ahead.
Okay, I think the threat of government sprawl is so real and so severe that as soon as Doge goes away, if there is a future administration that is not as fiscally conservative as President Trump, that they could just hire all these people we don't need, reinstate the nonprofit industrial complex, get rid of all this progress we've made, and then we're back to square one. I see Doge as a guard dog, pun intended, that stops that from happening. And when that goes away, we could be back in the same mess.
I wish I could find this on Twitter. I'm not fast enough right now. It's a slow Friday. It's fine. But one of the things that I did, this was when Doge first came into being and they started making their cuts and they went after like USAID like right away, right off the top. And the left went nuts. And my point was, after reading the background and doing the homework, I said, well, if you don't like it, blame Obama. Because Doge is a form of what was created under Obamacare.
Yes.
That was there to seek out government waste, fraud, and abuse for the idea that there'd be money available so that Obamacare could run efficiently. All that's been done, it's not a new office. The direction of the office is, no, we're going to look for waste, fraud, and abuse over the entirety of the thing for our own physical sanity as a country.
And they
not just for Obamacare.
They go so fast. I actually interviewed for a position at Government Services Administration, and I was talking to some guys who are part of the Doge mission. And in the interview, somebody looks distracted. It's a Zoom meeting. It's also the year 2025. Everyone is distracted all the time. I was not offended. Didn't bug me at all. But this guy, he was very sweet, and he goes, hey, I'm sorry if I look a little out of it. I'm canceling contracts while you talk.
Yeah.
And I said,
that's so awesome.
Let her rip. Go crazy, man.
Keep at it, man. In fact, if you can give me a running tally of how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that you're into. But I brought that up because Doge can actually last into perpetuity. And if the other side would like to get rid of it, then, well, first off, get rid of Obamacare.
That'd be nice.
That'd be the quickest way to get rid of Doge.
That would be nice.
Or you'll have to get another administration and then basically decide, okay, I'm going to cut the head of Doge, and then you're going to have to deal with that bad press and that bad information that you actually took out the one government institution that we have that's actually legal, that's actually was created under Barack Obama in order to look for this stuff within the government.
Yes, and somebody's going to have a hard time explaining why they fired the watchdog. But then again, Doge was created with that expiration date. They said on America's 250th birthday, Doge goes away. I think we're still going to need it.
I think it's important to have it. I'm all about it. I'm right there with you. When I started talking about the importance of Doge and how the background was of it, I think it was funny when Tug sends me the text and he's like, hey, man, it's been like 8 days, and now the guy down the street is talking about the thing you were talking about 8 days ago on his radio show about how, well, if you don't like it, blame Obama. I'm like, yeah, I know.
They're like, hello,
listen, I work a lot quicker.
Here.
And then poor Buck Sexton brings it up like 10 days later, and Tug's like, Buck just figured it out. I'm like, listen, take some work to be ahead of the curve. The Oracle of Atlanta here is working. All right, that's what I'm trying to do for everybody else out there. She's Angela Morabito. I'm Carlos Medina. That's Jure. By the way, are we on best behavior? Like, has this gone more along the lines of what you wanted to, Jerry? Because last time Angela was here, you were like, you were way too on your best behavior.
No, we're having some fun.
Okay, good.
All
Just
right.
wanted to make sure it's a Friday. We gotta light this thing on fire.
Have some fun on a Friday.
All right, when we get back, we will jump into a handful of headlines, and also Marco Rubio on censorship from the Biden administration. Color me surprised. We'll get into that next. We continue the Morning Xtra right here on Extra 106.3.
Start your day with Tug and Los on the Morning Extra from 6 to 10. Then it's Glenn Beck, Clay and Buck at noon, and the Kimmer Show on your ride home from 3 to 6. And hang out every night for Jesse Kelly at 6 and Jimmy Fela at 9. And stream it all live in crystal clear HD on the Extra 106.3 app.
Good morning. It's Front Office Los, Carlos Medina. Let's talk about True Prep. Previous segment, I did tell you about how, I try and anticipate what's going on so that I'm prepared for it. I learned that years ago. I learned that back in 2018 after dealing with Hurricane Michael. And many of you who were living in Georgia at the time, you remember when that monster came out of the Gulf of America, that tore out through the Florida Gulf Coast and then came up through Georgia and all the damage it did. That was when I decided it was time to prep. And True Prep is the place to get ready when you just need emergency supplies. Not even just emergency supplies. Maybe you need first aid supplies. Maybe you just want to make sure that, hey, you got kids in the house and sometimes they get rowdy. You just want to be able to have some supplies for that. Maybe you happen to be the team mom or the team dad for the soccer team. Have a first aid kit available. Yeah, you can go to some small store and, let me go get one over here. Or you can go to True Prep where it's going to be the real deal, serious sort of stuff. Water filtration, that's another huge factor of what they have. Freeze-dried foods, that's a personal favorite. I keep that in the basement just in case when you never know. And also, when it comes to firearms, a very large selection for personal security. And they do offer classes to go along with it in firearm safety, plus the best prices on ammo around. What do? Go over to Cobb Parkway in Marietta, or you can go online at trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow at True Prep.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. ATL Turf Co. provided a pet-friendly turf, so it holds up to dogs. My dog likes to have friends over, so when they run around, chase balls, they can skid on it, they can slide on it. Nothing ever happens to it. The transformation of my backyard just looks amazing. We've referred ATL Turf Co. to all of our friends and family. Check them out online at atlturfco.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's home floor advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A generous stranger who paid for everyone's meal all day long in a popular restaurant in Massachusetts makes today's Dean's List. It happened in a McDonald's on Upper Main Street in Haverhill when a man walked in to the restaurant and handed one of the cashiers cash and said he wanted to pay for everyone's meals that day until the money ran out. So from 1:30 p.m. to 5 p.m., 356 meals were given away. Franchise owner David Yee and his daughter Christine kept track of all the food. Christine says she was skeptical at first and was suspicious doubts that the money might have not been real. So she called the local police department to make sure everything was on the up and up. And indeed it was. Christine says she's never experienced anything like it, saying, quote, "We were given a special opportunity to spread kindness. We hope everyone who got a meal for free today passes that good feeling of caring forward." Janice Dean, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Friday, May 2nd. 6 people were arrested in a Roswell motel in relation to a trafficking ring. Police rescued 2 sisters under the age of 16 and connected them with support services. Police say the girls met the men that were arrested on Snapchat. Those men remain behind bars without bond. Family and police met on Thursday evening in Marietta to hold a vigil for fallen officers from Cobb, Paulding, and Douglas counties. The vigil was organized by the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 13. Longtime Marietta Councilman Johnny Walker has announced he is not seeking re-election. He served as a councilman in Marietta for 12 years. A burn ban for most of North Georgia went into effect yesterday and will last throughout the summer. No yard waste or garbage is allowed to be burned. Today's weather, cloudy this morning with the possibility for showers this evening. Storms are predicted for Saturday, but will dry out on Sunday. Temperatures will reach the low 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
This is the Morning Extra. No Tug this morning. He'll be back on Tuesday. You get Carlos Medina and Angela Morabito. She'll be in today as well on Monday. And we're not telling you too much. This is the long tease. But Angela has something dropping next week that's going to be of interest to you. What can we tease without saying where, without saying a whole lot? What can we say that's going to be coming out in your behalf?
Well, I'm allowed to tell you where and when. It's going to be tomorrow in the Washington Examiner. I have got a piece on something that I don't talk a lot about, and it's about the fertility rate and Elon Musk. Now, he seems to be trying to fix that personally.
To say that he believes in what he's speaking.
That is right. I feel like having an Elon Musk baby is this year's version of dating Pete Davidson. Of like every time you check the news, someone new is doing that.
Somebody different with Pete. Okay.
Yes, it's like the new thing. And while I don't want to say I commend his efforts to fix it personally, but I do see it. You can't miss it. I think there are better ways. And that's what my piece is about tomorrow. So I'm excited to share it with y'all tomorrow online and then Monday on the show.
All right. Again, long tease. Was this enlightening to you to see some of the information on birth rates around the world?
It was fascinating.
It's one of the things I listened to a podcast on this, and I tell you, as much as you might see yourself as, hey, I'm Angela, and I'm kind of nerdy about this stuff. Dude, I'm like 20 times nerdier than you. Like, you have no idea.
All right, I'm here for it.
It's like you and your husband, y'all do so many cooler things than I do. In fact, my wife is like, wait, can you get out of like the nerd bunker? Like, what are you doing down there? I'm nerding out. I'm watching this. One of the aspects of a podcast I listened to, there was a man, I don't know if it was a generational scientist, but one of the things he would study is birth rates.
Okay.
And how that oftentimes would dictate military policy, public policy within certain countries.
Okay.
And one of the things that he had predicted years before is that the Russians, if they're interested in annexing of taking Ukraine, they were going to have to do it over the next, and he was talking about this about 3 or 4 years ago. He's like, they have to do it the next 3 or 5 years because their military age men, because of their birth rate issue, are going to age out. They won't have a young enough group of people to be able to, in this case, have an invasion of another country.
Ooh.
So in our case, when you talk about birth rates, we're concerned because we have Social Security. We're going to run out of workers. And so I think that, and again, once your piece comes out, and I'm probably going to end up reading it, and then I'll be texting you and being like nerding out some more of like, dude, I like how you said that.
Do
that
it.
was really
Please
cool.
nerd out with me. I'm all about it.
But that's an aspect of Elon working at his level. It's hard to describe this to people that if we are not birthing, especially in the Western world, enough children, it starts to create a real problem systemically within society. And we're way down from where we were in the 1950s and 60s. Granted, even outside the baby boom, we're way down.
Yeah, we are. So 2023 was our record low year. And even now they were like, oh, okay, well, we hope it'll bounce back. We're only hovering a little bit above that. We're not at what's called the replacement rate, which is just a fancy way of saying eventually, if this continues, we're going to run out of humans. Every community is going to have to shrink. Businesses have to shrink. Schools have to shrink. That's a country in decline, and nobody wants that.
The Chinese are dealing with this as well. At their height, I believe that their reduction if I remember correctly. It's like almost like eightfold. It's
wow,
because they had obviously the one-child policy coming out of the 1950s.
Yeah,
and they were concerned about, after they dealt with their Great Famine, how they were going to feed people. And so it became public policy to, you're only allowed basically 1.5 kids. Well, now they're reaping the whirlwind of a declining population, and that makes them, in case of the military, they'll only be strong for a few more years before they turn into a paper tiger of a bunch of old people.
It's amazing. And they say over and over that demography is destiny, right?
That's smart. I like that.
And because it's one thing that no public policy can avoid if you just don't have enough humans. And look, like, this is something, I'm a woman in my early 30s. I'm married with no kids. I will be very honest about where I am on this. This is something that, like, my friends and I talk about a lot, of people wanting to start families or have bigger families than the ones they have now. And it's so hard to do that.
That's an important factor. And I've brought this up talking quite a bit about Gen Z. Like, are you on like the high end of Gen Z, or are you technically...
I am a millennial.
Okay, so you're on like the
I'm a
very young end.
I'm a
of
young-ish millennial.
Yeah, because you would be on the very young end of millennial. That's why I was kind of curious. Young end of millennial or oldest when it comes to Gen Z, because I'm Gen X, but I'm on like the very early end of Gen X. It was still like, what's the generation going to be called? And it was people that were like 20, 25, and I'm like, I'm 12. So, all right, I'm Gen X, I guess. And so that was kind of the nature of what happened for me. The discussion has been, because this is some of the work that my wife does when she does the generational studies within her company and her corporation, that because of your level of responsibility and your level of education, went to college, highly educated person, you've seen the world, you've done amazing things, you were doing the responsible thing of, let me wait to start a family until there's a different level of comfort. And so now it's the amount of people that are being married at 28, 29, 30, starting families into their 30, where they were doing it a generation ago, 2 generations ago at 19, 20, 21.
Yes. And especially it's different. So I spent my 20s in D.C. and I would see like a 29-year-old with a baby in D.C. and be like, oh my gosh, teenage parents. No, she's 29. But your worldview gets so skewed by that. And it was so refreshing to come back to Georgia for a million reasons. But one of those reasons is that people tend to be way more normal about what families can be, and the fact that families can look really, really different.
Like, my parents were married at 2021. They waited because they were both working in corporate America. I came along when they were 28, and I kind of considered like, okay, I guess that's what we're looking to do. My wife and I got married. She was 25. I was 26. We have like 8 months of separation between us. I've got 8 months older than she is.
Okay.
But then we were in that position of, well, let's wait. Let's get a chance to travel. And so after 4 years of marriage, it turned into, okay, we'll start the kid thing. And so our first one came along when we were both, she was 29, I was 30. That looked so weird to my in-laws that were cranking kids out at like 19, 20 years old. Like, my father-in-law jokes around. He's like, your wife was like 10 months after we were married.
Oh, wow.
They got on the baby bus like quick, but that was a different generation. But that's now being seen across the world. So I'm glad that you're going to have this article and look into this stuff. And as focusing on Elon like gets everybody's foot in the door, because everybody wants to read something about Elon Musk, but it does lend itself to talking about the bigger, broader issue.
And there's actually something that I didn't get to talk about in the piece, because they're like, keep it under 700 words, and I'm like, can you handle 1,200? It's not that long.
Do you know my nickname? It's Angie's Pissed. All right, like, it's gonna take a while.
I am a yapper, and I wanted to yap, but one of the things I couldn't yap about in this piece was that there is the whole gender issue in the United States. If you've got Gen Z that missed out on a year or two of socialization, so they're scared to even talk to each other.
Sure.
That's an issue as well. Then you have the fact that women demographically tend to want to marry men who are similar to them in terms of education level. Well, that's really hard to do because many fewer men are pursuing college and graduating college.
That's right. Larger percentage are now women. Yes.
Yes. So there are demographic factors here among current adults that are making it harder for our country to have more children.
May I? What's your husband's first name, if you don't mind?
His name's Tyler.
Okay. I'm just going to tell you this, brother. You did good, because she has these standards that you managed to jump through. You jumped through all the hoops, and they weren't just little hoops, okay? So her entire generation, they were waiting for that moment where, like, he's not right for you.
Well-educated.
That's right.
Great chef.
They signed off. They were like, so you did it right, brother. So
You can land the
congratulations.
I am
And
a
you can
very
land the
lucky
plane.
girl. I'm a very, very lucky lady. And I'll tell you, he is very quiet on social media. And I had my girl squad on this like the FBI, and they couldn't find him.
I knew y'all did that.
Sorry?
Knew it.
Yes,
I
knew it.
knew they
Yes.
did that.
Yes.
The girl groups will investigate.
Oh, honestly, I think the CIA should be all women. Like, I've seen people pull, like, well, I found this, like, tax return. I'm like, did you find his dental records? Did you find his baby teeth? Like, sometimes it gets a little scary.
I know where he's been. I found him. I saw a post from MySpace like 12 years ago, 14 years ago. I know where he's been. Just how it goes. I get that. All right, so let's finish up this segment with this because we did promise you some fun Marco Rubio audio. Marco Rubio, as you pointed out to me during the break, you're like, have you seen how many jobs he's doing? Like, the meme shows him what's like 4 or 5 different positions he's holding.
Yep.
Like, I thought in my mind, I'm like, oh, okay, Marco Rubio is going to do some stuff within the administration. And it was like 2 weeks in, they're like, hey, listen, we need you to go be the head of over at USAID and take it apart. It's like, okay, you got it.
Yeah, if you told me he was also like mowing the White House lawn, I'd be like, of course he is. They're having him do everything.
Right. That portrait of Donald Trump. Marco, can you go ahead and paint that? Yeah, I got it. Yeah, he's doing everything.
He just does it. I don't think he sleeps.
No, I don't think so either. Like,
He's a busy man, and I'm happy about that because I really like the guy.
Yeah, I do as well. I enjoyed it. In fact, I did have an issue when we were talking about 2015 into 2016 when, I mean, I get it. Donald Trump was doing what he was doing to the rest of the field. There were 14 people that were running for president, and he was calling him Little Marco. I was like, but he's Marco Rubio, man. He's on our side here.
Right. Like, he's one of the best people on the
dependable
conservative
here.
team.
Exactly. So there was that. So I want you to take a listen to this. As Marco Rubio started pointing out, you knew there was censorship. You know, Missouri versus Biden showed us that there was censorship that was coming from the Biden administration. But to have Marco Rubio label it this way during the cabinet meeting really spoke to how corrupt, how nasty the Biden administration was being. Take a listen.
Something else we got out of the business of wasn't widely reported, or maybe it was. We had an office in the Department of State whose job it was to censor Americans. And by the way, I'm not going to say who it is. I'll leave it up to them. There's at least one person at this table today who had a dossier in that building of social media posts to identify them as purveyors of disinformation. We have these dossiers. We are going to be turning those over to these individuals.
Me or Elon? We can follow up with the media story.
Well, we are going to turn over these dossiers to the individuals, and they'll decide whether they want to disclose it or not. But just think about the Department of State of the United States had set up an office to monitor the social media posts and commentary of American citizens.
First off, that's J.D. Vance in the background saying, was it me or Elon? And that's got a whole crowd to bust out laughing. But here's where I think about this, Angela, and the reason why I think this thing polls so well as far as a group, because there's so many dynamic people in there, and there's so many system disruptors. Is it RFK Jr.? Is it Tulsi Gabbard? Is it J.D. Vance? Is it Elon? Like, you can name a laundry list of people that the government would have said, this person's dangerous with what they're putting out on social media, the discussion they're having. We need to make sure we have a department to watch them.
Yeah, realistically, it could have been anybody in that room. Because they are, like you said, they are all reformers. They are all loud and proud about who they are. There are no slackers on Team Trump. These people are all hitting the ground running. And, J.D. Vance, I love his sense of humor.
I do too.
I think that is such an underrated aspect of just who he is as a fixture in American politics. But he actually floated on X last night, giving Marco Rubio another job. Yeah, he listed out all these titles that Rubio currently holds. And he said, if only there was a job opening somewhere in the world for a devout Catholic man.
First off, that's awesome from J.D. Vance.
Floating him for Pope.
It also makes a whole lot of fun of the fact that he's already doing like 8-10 jobs anyway.
That's the busiest man in government.
Marco, would you mind being the Pope?
Trade in all those other hats for one real big hat.
Yeah, very sparkly, special hat.
One very special, important hat. You can give that one a try. I don't know if you have this opinion of J.D. Vance as well. We were playing some audio where he was talking about how he was trying to get out of the inaugural ball because he wanted to watch Ohio State play a football game. And I thought, man, that really points to how as much as the left was trying to hold up Tim Walz and say, look, he's a dude. Like, guys can vote for him. Like, that's the reason why. And we're like, that totally missed.
Yeah.
J.D. Vance comes across as a dude. Like,
He does.
he's not a lot different than... There's aspects of... I hope there's aspects of him that my wife goes, okay, my husband does that. Or there's aspects of stuff he does, and you go, that reminds me of like, my husband does that.
Oh, yeah. It was such a weird twist of fate, right, to have the national championship game on the same day as the inauguration. Because I'm like, man, becoming the vice president was the second best thing to happen to J.D. Vance today.
That's how he treated it.
Yeah.
He talked about having to get a small TV so he could sneak away and watch the game. He's like, I snuck away to go watch the game against Notre Dame. It's like, dude, you just became the second most powerful person in the country, next in line, a heartbeat away from being the most powerful man in the world. And you're like, hey, Notre Dame's driving. I got to go.
Finally, we have like real people in these jobs. And Marco Rubio, to your point earlier, is really trying to clean up a crime scene of if he doesn't tell on the Biden administration, if he covers up that he knows that there's a dossier on people in the administration, he's complicit. So in a very, I think, uncomfortable situation, he's forced to go public.
I think him saying that, and I think Tulsi Gabbard yesterday, and we'll have some of the audio of her pointing out some of the stuff that went on under Anthony Fauci and these biolabs around the world.
Ooh.
That is when I start to rub my hands together and go, okay, you know how you keep people from ever doing this stuff again? Make sure you string them up. Like, make sure you punish them. Like, Nuremberg is not a bad idea here, people, when you have 5 million dead across the world. When we get back, Angela's going to give you some data on some of the student loans that are out there. And also, Stephen Miller. He's the gift that keeps on giving within that White House. We'll talk about both of those next as we continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3 FM. Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 2nd. The Atlanta Braves are back in action tonight as the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers are in town for the first of a 3-game series starting tonight at Truist Park. It'll be Grant Holmes on the mound for the Braves tonight. He'll be opposed by Yoshi Yamamoto. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Golden State Warriors look to knock out the Houston Rockets tonight as they play Game 6 from San Francisco. The Warriors do lead that series 3-2. That tip-off is set for 9 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
This is Tom with the Honest Car Guy.
Hey, what's with all this honesty stuff?
We help you buy your next pre-owned car or truck honestly.
How honestly?
We guarantee that each vehicle we sell will come with a bill of sale showing what we paid for the vehicle. You'll pay what we pay, plus an honest fee. Guaranteed.
No gimmicks or tricks?
Nope.
Man, this sounds like a new way to buy a car.
Get an honest car buy from the Honest Car Guy. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit honestcarguy.com.
I enjoy a good night's sleep, and I like to breathe while I'm sleeping. My wife appreciates that, too. That's why I wear a CPAP. You want the right machine. You want expert advice. You want all the supplies that go with it. You get it all at CPAPs, etc. in Alpharetta. Machines, masks, tubing, filters, cleaning supplies, all of it, and they ship nationwide. Walk-ins, by the way, are welcome. CPAPs, etc. Alpharetta, CPAPsetc.com.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. An audience with the Pope is a day to remember, but only on Capitol Hill would the day after the Pope visited become even more memorable. The late Pope Francis came to Congress to speak to a joint meeting of Congress on September 24, 2015. The Pope is a head of state ruling the Vatican City and the Holy See. As such, Francis became the first Pope to speak to a joint meeting of Congress in the House chamber. But after his meeting with the Holy Father, then House Speaker John Boehner made a decision which would reverberate for years. Boehner decided to quit the speakership the very next day. His encounter with the Holy Father seemingly transformed the speaker. Former Congressman and former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows had tried to oust Boehner that summer. Republicans have fought over speakers ever since. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy lacked the votes to succeed Boehner. The GOP barely convinced former House Speaker Paul Ryan to run. Then McCarthy won in 2023, but only served for a few months. Later that fall, the House sat without a speaker for more than 3 weeks before finally settling on House Speaker Mike Johnson. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Fox on Tech. Would you trust an AI with your credit card? We're already giving artificial intelligence access to a lot of things, personal things, from our photos to our emails, texts, and daily schedules. But now Visa is looking to AI to bring you, the consumer, an agent who can buy things for you using your stored payment card information. It's all part of a mode of artificial intelligence called agentic AI, in which the smart software acts on behalf of its human user, often making informed decisions about preferences and patterns with little to no oversight. Allowing an AI agent to spend one's money, however, is a new leap. Though both Amazon and Google have been working on similar projects in digital retail, Visa is working with leading AI developers, including ChatGPT parent OpenAI and payment processor Stripe, to make it happen. While testing is underway, Visa expects to widely debut its agents next year. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
It's a Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's your friend Carlos Medina. Also, your other friend, Angela Morabito.
Good morning.
Your other friend, Tug Coward, he is not here because he is not your friend. He had so much time, so much of a good time over watching Pearl Jam with his wife last night. It's part of their anniversary, and they're then going to go watch Jacob Coward, his son, play their conference tournament and hopefully finish up right over there at Sumter before moving on to his next university, which looks like it's got my fingers crossed. Everything looks good. Can't wait to see it. Young man hit 340 this year. They bet on himself, and he won. So just really proud of everything. And so hopefully they have a great time there this weekend. Tug will be back here on Tuesday. Got a couple things to hit right here. Do want to remind you, 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. So student loans, Angela, you're the one who broke it to me. Last time you were here, you said, hey, you can't say anything yet. And I'm like, oh, okay, here's like trade secret. Yeah. I'm going to get like some good stuff right here from Angela. And she goes, the Trump administration is going to start making them repay their loans for the first time in 5 years, but they're not announcing it until tomorrow. And I'm like, she's so plugged in. Sure enough, that becomes like the talk on X for about 3 or 4 days, and it's continued going from there.
Yep, I gave you an early heads up, but we are headed for a big financial story here because no one knows for sure what's going to happen, right? Like, there was this student loan pause put in place during COVID, and then Biden kept extending it.
Yes.
Because it was student loan forgiveness by another name, right? Like, he wanted to just kick the can down the road.
Pause it into perpetuity. You don't have to worry about paying that back.
Right. So he didn't restart it until Congress forced him to in fall of last year. And they tried all this stuff. They were like, we're going to do an on-ramp to repayment. You know, we're going to give people every possible excuse not to repay. Wow. There's a new sheriff in town, and Secretary McMahon, is like, we got to get people paying their bills. So on May 5th, on Monday, collections and wage garnishments are going to restart, which means if you just don't pay your loan, the the Treasury Department, rather, is going to come collect on that loan. And they expect nearly 10 million borrowers to be in default.
All right, so you didn't know about this, and this was from a couple days ago, but Jerry's just this smooth with stuff. So I submitted something to him a couple of days ago. Tell me if this makes a lot of sense to you.
Okay.
So I'm going to pause our Stephen Miller audio for a moment. He's the greatest, but this totally works out.
I love Stephen Miller.
Awesome, Jerry. I know, he's so good. 8 o'clock hour. So this woman decides she's going to go on X and she's going to post a video.
Okay.
Now, she's highly educated. She's going to tell you about her multitude of degrees. But now she's also going to tell you her plan to make sure that she doesn't have to pay. Take a listen.
Just for the record, we will all file bankruptcy and we will all go back to school. You're not getting a dime from us. What? I have 3 degrees. I'll go get another one. I'm a black woman. Black women are the most educated populace on this planet. We go to bed, wake up, and decide, okay, we're bored. Let's go get another degree. Are you kidding me? I will take 2 to 3 credits per semester, per year, until the next administration gets here and figures this all out. You're not getting a dime from me, Donald Trump.
All right, first off, clearly none of those degrees are in finance.
Yeah, I would hope not.
Because you probably didn't do very well there, because bankruptcy will not protect you when it comes to student loan debt.
Yeah, not going to help you.
It does not work there. This isn't like, my tractor company, we just declared bankruptcy. Guess what the creditors do? They roll in and they take your tractors. All right, there's nothing to take.
Yeah, people think it's like that episode of The Office where Michael Scott is going, I declare bankruptcy, and thinks if he yells it, that's like how you do
It's
that.
a get out of jail free card. Like, I'll wreck my credit for 7 years, but you're not going to get a dime from me. It doesn't work that way.
Not how that works.
The federal government garnishes your wages
Yes.
and anything that you have coming in. If you were to get an inheritance from a dead parent, they have access to it.
That's right.
They have you win the lottery, it's theirs. Like, there is no escape from this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what she thought.
I don't know what she's thinking here other than, hey, everybody, I'm going to continue to be a drain on taxpayer resources forever.
Keep digging.
Well, and the idea that I'm going to go back to school, and in this case, if you are talking about, as she said, like, I'll just do 2 or 3 credits a semester. All right, first off, your ability, and this might have changed. I just know this is what it was about a decade ago. If you want to avoid these payments, you have to technically be a full-time student, which means 6 hours of college credit at a graduate level. That's it. In order to keep paying. If you are in 2 or 3 credits, 2 or 3 credit hours, you are technically not considered a full-time student. You have to start repaying. Like, has that changed at all? I mean, that's how it was.
I don't believe that has changed.
That's what it was.
The rules are pretty strict because they don't want people to do exactly this.
Right.
To say, I'm going to sign up for one class that I'll never show up to it, but it means I don't have to pay my loans. Yeah, no, they don't want people doing that.
It doesn't work that way. That's a bit of a problem. So, yeah, this is going to be some chaotic mayhem on May 5th. And I fully imagine we'll get so much of the anger that's going to be out on X. And I don't want to pay these people. At the end of the day, and that term always makes me kind of like, oh, God, here it comes. At the end of the day. But really, when it comes right down to it, if you took out the money, you got to repay the money.
Yeah.
This is not an issue where you have collateral to give something back. It's not like you come get my house or my car. Like, I didn't pay my bills on my car. They're going to take your car. I didn't pay for my house. They're taking your house. There's nothing to take when it comes to your education. So they're going to just say, well, we get your money.
Yes. And you've had years of a break, right? First, there's that 3.5-year long student loan pause, which I think was extended far longer than it needed to be. Totally understand giving people a break in the early days of COVID when things are tremendously uncertain.
When people were not allowed to work, especially for those students that were grinding it through with whether it was hey, I'm working at a restaurant. Well, that restaurant's not going to be open for 6 months, 3 months, whatever it was. I totally got it. I was like, that makes complete sense to pause payments during that time period.
Of course. But then the Biden-Harris administration used this as de facto loan forgiveness, kicked the can down the road. And just now, I mean, Secretary McMahon, she's going to take a lot of heat for this in the press, but she is doing the right thing because you can't just let people not pay. And yes, it dings their credit score. Yes, there are other bad effects. But somebody's got to come collect on the loans. And finally, she's making the decision of the buck stops here.
It is the adult in the room. Like I've said this during the campaign. I said, America needs a dad.
Okay.
Because dad will tell you at a certain point, you're doing wrong, son. You're doing wrong, daughter. And in this case, we had an administration that didn't want to be dad. They wanted to be your cool auntie. You know, your trendy aunt who's like, just do whatever you want.
Like
it's
your
totally
wine
fine.
aunt who's like, it's fine. It's great.
Fine. Come on over. You're supposed to show up to work tomorrow. Don't worry about it. I mean, dad tells you, hey, you took out that money. You got to pay back that money. Yeah. Hey, you signed up for that job. You said you were going to do it. You know, my dad always had like one rule. Well, it was 2 rules. Finish what you start. That was always the first one. And then his next one was leave things the way you find them.
Really good rules.
Those were simple rules, like finish what you start, leave things the way you find them. You could go about your life with that, and most other people you run into will respect you.
Yeah, I don't know how the idea of like, you should repay the loans you take out has become a Republican thing.
Yeah,
because it used to be an everybody thing.
Yes, you took out the loans, finish what you start. You completed the education. The other part of it is you have to pay the money back.
And the fact that we're going to have nearly 10 million borrowers in default so soon shows us just how many people haven't been doing that. Now, some of them maybe chose not to. Some of them maybe can't do that. But they've had time to plan. They've had time to prepare. I think we're only seeing the beginning of this story because there's got to be data underneath, right? Of like, why is this happening?
So you were much younger when we went through the housing crisis of like, we started to get like the whole bubble factor of like something weird is going on here, like 06, then 07, 08. At the time, my wife and I were first time home buyers. We had just bought a home.
Ooh.
And then everything occurred. And so we're like, oh, this is bad.
Yikes.
But one of the words, the phrases that came out of that was predatory loans. Yeah, we signed up for a loan where we had an 80-20 and we didn't put any money down, but we knew what we signed up for and we knew what we had to pay for it. The whole idea of when you called it predatory loans gave people this cover to then bail out the banks. Now you're having people trying to say, well, they're predatory student loans. I'm just saying it ain't going to work the same way. There's no big banks that they're going to look to pay back and then forgive your loans. Like, no, they're going to get their money.
Yeah, I mean,
ain't like your house. They're going to get your money.
I think that, look, if your college degree is so useless that you don't want to pay it off, it's definitely so useless that the rest of us don't want to pay it off. Especially the majority of Americans don't have college degrees. Why are we putting this on them? It's not fair.
Go to trade school. Be a welder. HVAC.
That's where the money is.
That's where the money is. All right, when we get back, awesome Stephen Miller moment and Tulsi Gabbard, she's throwing down the gauntlet. That next on the Morning Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
No politics, don't feel like it. Maybe you can help me, though. The Impossible Quest, August 19th, 1973. Donna and I, Honolulu Airport, getting a flight back from our honeymoon. The flight will be Honolulu to San Francisco, then to Atlanta. As we approach the gate, we notice that there are blankets all over the floor covered with little babies, human babies. So we get on the flight to United 747. They make an announcement. We are flying a bunch of babies back to America to be delivered to their new families. These are Vietnamese orphans from the Vietnamese War, Catholic Relief Services handling the babies. They announce that they need volunteers to hold a baby for takeoff. Donna and I volunteer. They bring me my baby. I end up holding, feeding, changing that baby all the way across the Pacific to San Francisco. When we land, a relief worker comes on board and says, "Thank you, I'll take the baby." "Oh, no, you won't. I'm going to take the baby off of this plane and hand it over to its new mother." "Okay, come with me." So I took that little baby off the plane and handed it to her new adoptive mom and dad. Now, the impossible quest. This has been 52 years ago, and I spend way too much time wondering what happened to that baby. What kind of life have they had? Successful? Failure? Where are they? Who was she? And for the life of me, I have no way of finding out. Yes, I'm in contact with Catholic Relief Services. Not much help there. If any of you have a suggestion, Lord knows I'm ready to listen. I just want to know that she's okay and having a great life. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
The Trump budget plan. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It'll be delivered today to Congress, where Republicans are already working on what President Trump calls one big, beautiful bill to fund his agenda.
Well, I think we'll get really close to the end. Our number one goal is make sure no tax increases at a very challenging time.
That's GOP Congressman Mark Herodopoulos. The Trump budget aims to cut $160 billion in non-defense spending. And as for Democrats' claims that Republicans are going to cut key programs like Medicaid.
What we're not going to do is allow illegal aliens to get Medicaid. We're not going to allow people who are able-bodied to go in and be on the welfare system. We need to make sure also people who are truly qualified are on there. A lot of people game the system.
Now, President Trump just posted on Truth Social that he's going to take away Harvard's tax-exempt status, writing it's what they deserve. After the university filed a lawsuit trying to block the president cutting off Harvard's federal funding, the president accused the university of allowing rampant anti-Semitism on campus after anti-Israel Gaza war protests. Last night, President Trump addressed graduates at the University of Alabama.
It is clear to see the next chapter of the American story will not be written by the Harvard Crimson. It will be written by you, the Crimson Tide.
Now, the president signed another executive order that takes away federal funding from something else. Public broadcasting, PBS TV and National Public Radio, accusing them of using taxpayer money to spread radical woke propaganda disguised as news. Mike Waltz is out as national security advisor, but Vice President Vance tells Fox it's not a firing.
He is being made ambassador to the United Nations, which, of course, is a Senate-confirmed position. I think he can make a good argument that it's a promotion.
Waltz got a lot of scrutiny for inadvertently letting a journalist join a Signal group chat discussing U.S. military action in Yemen. A singer-songwriter has died.
I kissed the girl.
That's the song Jill Sabul's best known for from 30 years ago. Yesterday, Sabule was killed in a house fire in Woodbury, Minnesota. She was 66. America's listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There's a better way. Pure Talk is offering a free brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 with a qualifying plan. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Dial pound 250 and say keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Align your business with other like-minded conservatives by advertising on Xtra 1063. Email sales at xtra1063.com.
There we go. The 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Sign up for the agreement. What is the agreement? It's a maintenance agreement. Now, Tug has been a client for years. I have been a client for years until the last 2 weeks. Between houses, I called. I thought I was just going to move my maintenance agreement. And then they were like, well, we've got to change this. We've got to make these. And I was like, okay, cool. Not a problem. And then I was like, I mean to call Kyle back to get it taken care of. I had to get the credit cards changed and new addresses and everything else. And so I was like, well, once it all gets in the mail, then I'll call and get it taken care of. So for the time being, I'm not a client, but I will be. Maybe by this afternoon, if I get my new credit card in, Central Heating and Air. Telling you, nothing better than that maintenance agreement. If you have an issue, Jerry, they are at your house within 24 hours. You don't want to wait a week or two.
No.
And, my cooling system's out. I live in Georgia. All right, Angela, we'll see you next week.
Ooh, that's rough.
No, that's bad. Bad idea. That's why you end up signing up with Central Heating and Air. They will come and take care of you within 24 hours, and they will come and check your units on a regular basis. We do it twice a year. That's why they're so important. All right. Angela Morabito, Carlos Medina. Tug will be back on Tuesday. He is, it's not even vacation. His son is in a conference tournament. They're going to be playing through Monday, so he'll then be back with us on Tuesday. So wish over there, Sumter and their baseball team a lot of good luck, and his son to finish off the season extremely strong. And maybe, we'll see, get through the conference tournament, see where you continue to go. It's that season when it comes to collegiate baseball. So Stephen Miller, I love it because I've now seen a guy who's extremely direct. Now, you made it a point to me, Angela, during the break that you weren't like the biggest fan of Stephen Miller from your experience during the first administration.
Oh, yeah. At first, I'm like, this guy is a PR nightmare. He's too much of a sledgehammer. And now I'm like, thank goodness he's a PR nightmare and he's so much of a sledgehammer. Like, I love him for it now.
It's a different system now. It's a different world. Like, I think when you got in there with that first administration, I think we were coming out, as we're coming out of the Barack Obama years, there was this element of, well, I mean, Barack Obama, he does like brackets during NCAA tournament time, and he's the nice guy, and everybody likes Barack Obama. And the weird part was no one associated his legislation with him.
Yeah.
His policies were never associated to him. It was always, Barack's a good dude, even though he's taking my money as soon as I sell my house to pay for Obamacare. Yeah. No one associated it to him.
Right. They completely divorced Obama, the personality, from Obama, the president. And it's like, no, you can't have one without the other.
And so by the time we get Trump into office, now it's all tied together. He's just mean to everybody. I'm just mad at that guy. Look at what he tweets out there. He's just a mean guy. And then you have Stephen Miller, the sledgehammer. Look, they're all just mean in that administration. Well, after you go through the 4 years of the teacher's lounge, and as I was kind of listing out yesterday, I got cocaine in the White House. I had breasts on the lawn that belonged to a dude.
Yeah.
I had another dude who decided, because he would dress up like a lady man, and he would steal women's clothing at the airport to go put it on himself. I also had an HHS director who was actually a man dressed as a woman trying to tell me about health. And not in good shape either, by the way.
Yeah, we were living in crazy town.
Yes. So to have a mean person like Stephen Miller, the sledgehammer, sometimes you need a dad in the room. I want you to take a listen. This is Stephen Miller, who just decides to take it to the media yesterday.
The only thing Americans want to hear from Kamala Harris is an apology for joining Joe Biden. And remember, she was the border czar. Joining Joe Biden in aiding and abetting the invasion of our country. And we're never going to stop talking about this, because what they did to this country is unforgivable. It is an eternal stain on the Democrat Party. Every day we read another story. Every day we arrest another alien they let into this country who raped a child, who beat a woman within an inch of her life, who murdered a mom, who murdered a dad, who trafficked drugs into this country, who trafficked fentanyl into this country, who are responsible for dead and slaughtered Americans. And I don't know what's broken in the Washington press corps, that none of that moves them emotionally. The only thing that gets them exercised is, do we need to have more trials for terrorist supporters? Do we need to have more trials for gangbangers? Do we need to have more trials for illegal alien invaders? Even though Congress and the Constitution clearly say that you can expel invaders and illegal aliens quickly, efficiently, and properly. This president has literally saved America, and I could not be prouder. I could not be prouder, as I know Caroline feels the same way, to come every single day to this building where we have a leader sitting in office whose first, last, and every thought is the safety, prosperity, security, and sovereignty of the citizens. That's an important word, people. Citizens of this republic.
Everything has a spiky edge to it.
Like, what a pep talk. I'm ready to run through a wall.
I know.
You talked about with the student loans, America's wanting a dad and everything. Stephen Miller is the media's daddy.
He is.
Yes.
He's telling you how it is. And like I said, when I said there's spikes on everything, it's rosy. I like what he's saying. Like, I'm into it. But when he tells you the citizens, and then he points out citizens, and that matters, like, he's driving it home that the media can say whatever they want to say, and they can create their narratives. But this is really an administration that's about America and America first. And that's what was voted for. And that's why they won all 7 swing states in the popular vote. So you can try and deter it as much as you want, but this is the will of the people. This is what we voted for.
He is in a very, brash way making a humanitarian argument. If we can't let people into our country who are going to harm Americans, there is nothing compassionate or kind about that. So how dare you, leftist media, think you've got the moral high ground when you're on the side of letting these people run wild inside our borders?
And I think this is an important factor. We talk about the amount of American jobs where the argument's always, well, Americans don't want to do those jobs. We have a pretty extensive work visa program.
Yeah.
Like, we can, if you're concerned about, well, how's my yard work going to get done? If that's like your basic level of what you're concerned about, know that we have programs to make sure we have plenty of these workers. All we're saying is that you got to do it legally.
Right.
If you want to, if you're somebody who just wants to come from somewhere else in the developing world and you recognize that there's better opportunities in America, we're just saying you can apply. And there are certain people that we are going to bring over here and we're going to say, you know what, this is going to be the next person who cures cancer. But we also let people in where we say, this person's going to be doing your yard work, your painting, picking your fruits and vegetables. So many of our farm workers are on work visas.
Yeah, and if you want to come here and do something productive, amazing. I think legal immigration is a good thing, right? As long as you're vetted and we know that somebody who's coming in is here to be part of our country and help build our country and not to commit crimes. I mean, look, Stephen Miller, comms genius, because you show up on day 100 to the White House, and what was every member of the media confronted with? Yard signs.
Yard signs.
Of migrants, illegal migrants who had been caught and the crimes they had been committed. And this was stuff like fentanyl. This was stuff like human trafficking.
Was murder, yeah, kidnapping. This was not jaywalking. Oh, we found him speeding. There's none of that.
There's no like parking ticket. No. This was the worst of the worst. And he forced, or at least somebody in the White House, forced the media to confront who they're going after.
Who they're defending. Yeah, that's another aspect. Right. To look at how this coverage worked. And this was on MSNBC and one other network. I think it might have been an aspect of CNN where they did it in the afternoon. But in the interest of protecting those that had not been convicted, they blurred out the signs so that you couldn't see who was in the country and what they had committed. So they're showing the yard signs.
But they're just blobs.
But they're just blurred out.
That's insane.
Imagine how that came across, where they have intentionally blurred out so that it does not have the visual impact that it was designed to do. If you don't recognize, we're playing games on both sides here.
Yeah.
Like, we're in this for the country, people. This is like the fight of your life. This is the battle for everything. And the White House is treating it as such. The media is treating it as it's just politics and we'll play politics with it.
Yeah. I mean, the Trump White House has been very aggressive about putting out videos of ICE taking migrants out of this country, that you see the deportation flights. I don't think there is a single other Republican who would be bold enough to do that. I think they would try to hide from Americans the reality of what it looks like when they're shaving those guys' heads and they're throwing them in this prison in El Salvador. No, Trump is saying, this is what we're doing. We're going to be loud and proud about it because this is what needs to be done.
And I agree completely. I think that's one reason that we've seen the numbers drop so much. People are like, ooh, they built that place in El Salvador just for people who were trying to come across. But you've talked before about when you were up in D.C., how disconnected so many of these media types are from the real world.
Yeah, they have no idea. I mean, it's the Martha's Vineyard thing, right? When Governor DeSantis decided to send a bunch of illegal migrants, okay, well, you're a sanctuary city. Here you go. They were gone like that because these people think that they can dictate how the rest of us are going to live our lives. But, oh, no, they don't want to live that way. Oh, absolutely not. It's why when you're on a federal health insurance plan, it's like amazing because they know who's writing the regulations. They're going to make you think healthcare in America works great. Where when you try to go buy a marketplace plan, it's crazy expensive and it doesn't cover what you need. They don't want to live by their own rules.
Mm-hmm. By the way, so there was the images from MSNBC when they blurred out the images, and so you can see where they're having the panel discussion, and here's them blurring out so that you can't see the images of those that are on the lawn.
And they're mugshots.
Or what they had committed. Yes,
yeah,
they're mugshots.
Part of the public record.
Yeah, that's what they did.
And MSNBC is like, no. We are going to make this G-rated fake news.
So speaking of somebody who's decided that it's not going to be G-rated, and they're going to go after this stuff, and I'm so here for it. Tulsi Gabbard, she ended up meeting with the media yesterday, and she started talking about one of the areas that they're looking into. And she brought up a term that this was not allowed to be said from like 2019 to 2024. You couldn't say biolab.
That's right.
When we brought up, hey, there is, I think the number was 47 biolabs that are in Ukraine. No, there's not. There's no biolabs. It took the Pentagon admitting, yeah, there's 47 biolabs that are in Ukraine. Part of the reason why the Russians came across that border, obviously, you're getting very important land to them. You are getting an area to be able to cultivate, and that's the valuable area of Ukraine. But also, if you have biolabs being cooked up on your border, I mean, we went into Iraq for much less. Yeah, we were like, weapons of mass destruction, we got to go get those. And we went across the border and we went into a sovereign country to go deal with their weapons of mass destruction. It didn't exist. Okay,
Right.
It was a giant lie that came out of the deep state. So you had the Russians who moved on these biolabs. Well, Tulsi Gabbard ends up having this discussion yesterday, and she actually starts drawing the lines, the stuff that we've been talking about on this radio station for 3 years, the stuff that we were told that you're crazy for thinking this when we would bring up Eco Health Alliance and Peter Daszak and how the money was used and where the money was going and how Barack Obama had decided you're no longer doing this domestically. Y'all take this overseas, and this is how it's going to run. Take a listen to what Tulsi Gabbard talked about having someone pay for some of the issues that have gone on in these biolabs overseas.
A lot of what's been found is already there. But the thing that we are working with Jay Bhattacharya, the new NIH director, on with, as well as Secretary Kennedy, is looking at the gain of function research that in the case of the Wuhan lab, as well as many of these other biolabs around the world, was actually U.S. funded and leads to this dangerous kind of research that in many examples has resulted in either a pandemic or some other major health crisis.
But let me ask you specifically, because we already know that Eco Health Alliance was partnering with this Wuhan lab to do gain of function research.
That's right.
We just have never been able to have somebody say, it was that exact experiment that led to this COVID bug. But have we gotten there? What's the new thing that you're digging in on?
We are working on that with Jay Bhattacharya and look forward to being able to share that, hopefully very soon.
I can't wait.
This is a massive scandal. And when you said 47 biolabs in Ukraine, I'm like, did you see the sparks like coming out of my ears? Because I'm like, what? I had no idea.
And 47 biolabs are being operated in Ukraine. This is, and I get why. And I've been very honest about what we were doing. We were funding these for two reasons. One, we wanted access. We wanted to know what you were working on, especially when it came to the Chinese. We wanted to know what you were working on.
Totally valid.
The number two reason, it's that in a world that has nuclear weapons, and now we're into drone warfare, one of the other weapons of the future is going to be bioengineered weapons that only attack certain people.
Yeah.
And rather than dropping a nuclear weapon that, okay, let's ruin humanity for the next 100,000 years, wipe it off, and we won't even have lizards, okay? We're going back to the Stone Age. Rather than having that type of weaponry, the weapons of the future will be drone-oriented and will be bio-oriented.
Yes.
And so if you can engineer a virus that only seems to attack your enemy because of their biologic nature, how, what their lineage is, whatever it is, and if you can happen to create a way that protects you from it, that's a weapon. That's a really valuable weapon. And that's what was being put together. And it got loose.
It's absolutely terrifying. And I give Tulsi Gabbard a lot of credit for exposing what's going on because there's been no accountability, right?
None.
China poisoned the world. We very likely helped fund our own poisoning of our country.
Oh, we helped fund it. We helped make it happen.
Which is just sickening, no pun intended.
They really, in my opinion, couldn't have done it without all of our money. And the problem is, and this is where I don't know if we ever want to get to the truth, there's a part of me that believes that the Chinese were really struggling on the world market. America's booming, the West is booming, and this got out, it slowed down the world. Okay? That slowed down our economies all around the world. The Chinese insist that we're the ones that released it.
That is insane.
The CCP cannot be trusted, but that is their point. They're like, no, the Americans released it because this is what they thought was going to happen.
And there's so much about the COVID pandemic that was tragic. First and foremost, absolutely the loss of life. And then there are the countless smaller losses that happened. If people missed out on times with their families, on their friends, they missed out on so much. There's also the loss of the truth. We may just never get to the bottom of this because we hear about document destruction going on in DC. I'm sure everything in Wuhan has just been burned to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
We're never going to know. And that is sad on a different level.
It was so important to me that the White House turned COVID.gov and started off by just saying, yeah, this was a bioengineered weapon, because I was listening to evolutionary biologists early on who were talking about how the cleavage site of the virus, when it attaches to humans, they're like, this has been bioengineered. This has never appeared ever in the world in a coronavirus. They're like, this is engineered. So I always believed, hey, this was just a weaponized weaponized virus that got out. Now, however it got out, we'll never know. And that's how it's going to be. But I am glad that at least this administration, with Tulsi Gabbard heading this up and Jay Bhattacharya, are looking into what exactly did y'all fund and who are the people that need to pay for this stuff. Because remember, only Anthony Fauci was the one who ended up getting that pardon. Not everybody did.
That's right.
Not everybody got that pardon. And by the way, that how he's gotten a pardon, he can't get up in front of Congress or any sort of testimony situation and lie to you or plead the fifth any longer.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think
He's not legally
somebody in
obligated.
D.C. needs to make that happen.
That's why you need to get your ducks in a row so you're asking the right questions so that you're able to have the people that were responsible for this. Somebody has to pay for this at some point. Yeah. At some point. The 8 o'clock hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air. Chuck and his guys, make sure you sign up for that maintenance agreement. I will have mine later today, I hope. Get my new credit card in. It's a change of address stuff. It's just what's been going on. All right, when we get back, ChatGPT and the changing algorithm. Angela Morabito is going to break that down next. This is the Morning Extra.
I'm Michelle Stovall, and our company has been family-owned and operated for 75 years. Check us out at StovallINC.com, or better yet, stop by our newly opened 11th store at 9500 Union Hill Road in Canton. At Stovall, we supply you with all your landscaping project needs, completely hassle-free down to delivery. Been dreaming of an outdoor kitchen, fireplace, or other custom paver project? We partner with Keystone Hardscapes for all your beautiful high-end concrete needs. We look forward to making your landscape dreams come true. Stovall has it all.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
Fox on Tech. Grandma and Grandpa could now have an easier time using rideshare apps. Both Uber and Lyft this week have announced special programs aimed at senior citizens, giving them a way to speak with an agent to book rides. Lyft Silver, as it is called, will create a streamlined app experience for users who might be intimidated by the features of a rideshare service or who may have trouble seeing a phone screen. With a quick tap, they can get over the phone support. Uber is offering an altered version of their app with bigger text and an easier way to select common destinations, such as for shopping or medical care. They've also long offered a toll-free number to call to arrange for pickups. These new programs are being tested in select markets for now, but both Uber and Lyft will add more locations in the near future. Both Uber and Lyft also offer rider profiles for teens, allowing parents to set destinations and pay for rides. With Fox on Tech, I'm Eben Brown, Fox News.
I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute. A man in Wisconsin allegedly imprisoned and sexually assaulted 2 young girls, subjecting them to years of torture. The first victim says 64-year-old David Boyd started abusing her in 2015 when she was only 5 years old. It allegedly lasted until she was 12 and moved away from the area. Her younger sister says her abuse started in 2020 when she was around 8 years old and lasted until 2024. She told police Boyd would routinely cut her arms and other body parts with a knife and trafficked her to other men, even chaining her to a pole in his Milwaukee basement, leaving her with just a piece of bread and forcing her to drink from a puddle. She drew a picture of the scene for police. The girls say their mom's friend was caring for them and dating Boyd at the time. The police first began their probe in January after a concerned foster parent of one of the sisters reached out to authorities. Boyd is facing sexual assault, child abuse, false imprisonment, and trafficking charges. There's more on the story at foxnews.com or subscribe to the Fox True Crime Podcast. I'm Gianna Gelosi with your Fox True Crime Minute.
Here are your headlines for Friday, May 2nd. 6 people were arrested in a Roswell motel in relation to a trafficking ring. Police rescued 2 sisters under the age of 16 and connected them with support services. Police say the girls met the men that were arrested on Snapchat. Those men remain behind bars without bond. Family and police met on Thursday evening in Marietta to hold a vigil for fallen officers from Cobb, Paulding, and Douglas counties. The vigil was organized by the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 13. Longtime Marietta Councilman Johnny Walker has announced he is not seeking re-election. He served as a councilman in Marietta for 12 years. A burn ban for most of North Georgia went into effect yesterday and will last throughout the summer. No yard waste or garbage is allowed to be burned. Today's weather, cloudy this morning with the possibility for showers this evening. Storms are predicted for Saturday, but will dry out on Sunday. Temperatures will reach the low 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 1063. It's Los. It's Angela Morabito sitting in for Tug Cowart. Tug will be back on Tuesday as he's over at his son's conference baseball tournament. He'll be enjoying that today. Also enjoying Pearl Jam all of last night and for fries. And also, Jerry, do you know this? Like, I've never been allowed, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't betray his trust. But I'll share with you all during the break. I've never been allowed to play the For Fries audio.
Oh, it's saved?
On the air.
Oh, my goodness.
I keep it on my phone.
Oh, so there's record.
Tug, I'd gotten down to Florida. This is like 2 years ago. And I got down to Florida, and I'd gotten a message on my phone while I was driving. And I was like, I'll check it out in a few minutes. And forgot. Went to dinner with the family. Ended up getting back over to our place. And I was like, oh, there's a Tug message. And I go to it. And he's in the drive-thru at whatever fast food place after, I think it was like a Darius Rucker concert. And he's like, well, so you get some from Ross. So when I ended up responding to him back the next day, you know, he was kind of like, what do you mean? I was like, you were calling it French fries was for fries. And then it turned into, hey, can we bring it on the air? And Tug's like, no. And so I will say this. I respect all my coworkers. There's stuff we'll make up. There's stuff we'll create. If at any point it seems like it might be compromising or possibly embarrassing, I will ask your permission, but only with my coworkers. Like if I'm a little bit adjacent, like let's say Flounder did something really silly and crazy on the air. Let's say I heard him have some sort of flatulence. I'm probably not going to ask him. I'm probably just going to play it. And I'm going to ask for forgiveness in that standpoint. But if I found out there was something considerably more embarrassing or compromising, I'd be like, dude, if he said no, I'd be like, okay, we're not. So that's the only, so you guys can get a chance. And hopefully at some point, there's going to be so much pressure from the audience to play it that Tug will finally relent and just be like, fine, play For Fries.
I mean, sometimes you just need some For Fries.
I agree.
It's a For Friday.
It's a For Friday.
Because he was at Pearl Jam last night.
You just need a little bit of help with some For Fries on a For Friday. So that's the whole background on that. So anyway, also, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to hear our announcement from earlier last hour, be on the lookout. Washington Examiner, Angela Morabito. She's going to have, published tomorrow?
It'll publish tomorrow.
Okay.
A piece about the fertility rate and how to fix it with an idea that nobody has floated yet. So
be on the lookout.
It out there.
Okay, be on the lookout for this so that by the time she's back on Monday, because Angela, the last time she was here, she was the one who goes, hey, I can't talk about this yet, but we're going to start collecting on student loan debt. The administration has decided on it. They're going to make the announcement tomorrow. And so that was the last time when Angela was like, hey, I got something going on. I was like, okay, everybody be aware of it.
I'm going to get in so much trouble for that, by the way.
I know what's going to happen. I didn't take it on the air. That was one of those moments. I believe, and I don't know if you dealt with this, obviously working, within the Department of Education as a spokeswoman. If you ever said to anybody, hey, this is off the record, did people honor that, or would you just say, I don't even bring it up? Because if I say off the record, it's off the record. If you tell me it's off the record, I will not take that on the air.
Yeah, so people tended to respect it, but I was also very cautious in who I spoke to off the record, where there were some people I had real hesitation about that I didn't think they would treat us fairly.
What was his name?
I'm going to plead the fifth. I'm going to dodge that question. I don't want anybody getting in trouble. But there were.
Did she work for Time? Blink twice if I'm correct. No, okay, go.
I won't name names. I'm just going to say it starts with P and ends with Politico.
Okay. There we go.
Shocking.
There were some people I just, there were some great journalists there, but there were a few where I was like, I don't think I can trust this person. So I wouldn't really speak off the record to them. Now, when I would speak off the record, a lot of times it was scheduling, where it'd be like the day before Thanksgiving, and they're like, hey, is an announcement coming? And I'd be like, hey, off the record, go eat your turkey. We're not dropping any big news today. I would try to give people a heads up.
Oh, just there's a level of professionalism that when you can do that, hopefully it's reciprocated. People will appreciate that. There's a way to work with the media, and I think that's been one of the frustrating points that has gone on. And it was Caroline Levitt that had brought it up earlier this week when she said she's gotten calls to comment on a story, and they're like, hey, it publishes in an hour. It's like,
I've gotten those.
That's not in good faith. If I was going with a story and it was going to have to do with the Atlanta Braves, let's just say, when I'm working on that side, if I have a story and it's Braves oriented, I'm contacting my Braves contacts ahead of time, not just for a quote, but to make them aware and get. Every story has a couple different sides, and if I happen to get a portion from them, that might become part of the story. But you want to give the subject an opportunity to explain, or sometimes to deflect. That's just as important. Hey, no comment. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the official comment. Okay, fine.
Yeah, when the opportunity is we're publishing imminently, you've got 12 minutes. I'm like, that's not a good faith effort.
No, not at all. To me, that's when I know now that I can't trust you and I'm burned here.
That was really tough. But we also had reporters, and this is true at all outlets, even the one that starts with P and ends with Politico. We had reporters at all outlets who, when they got something wrong, I would call them up and say, hey, this is just not accurate. Sometimes there were people who would change it really fast. There were other reporters at other outlets who would be like, yeah, I don't see any need to change that. And I'm like, well, I do, because it's straight up wrong.
I can get that if you're going to make a phone call, you're going to ask for, I'm not going to say you always ask for a retraction, but I would say at the very least, you need to clarify this story as far as what we're pointing out. If you won't even clarify a story or add a note, in a world that's all digital now, where you just make a footnote of this has been added to this story based on information we got from the White House or Department of Education or anybody else. If you're not willing to do that, then all you're doing is issuing propaganda in my mind.
That's right. And it ultimately harms their credibility. Like, my goal was to try and help these reporters tell the truth. Some of them were like, we don't trust you, lady. And I'm like, okay, I can't force you to trust me other than by showing up every day and telling people things that were correct.
Well, I know you're not very trustworthy to start with.
Can't trust me.
I've gotten that all figured out already.
Can't take me anywhere.
And besides, when you said, because I asked you last night, this was more like, we're trying to figure out a little bit more about Angela as we build, you're building into a bigger personality on this radio station, and people want to know more about you. And I recognize that there's a handful of things that I know about you, but then there's other things that I don't that are kind of defining characteristics. And I said, what's your favorite movie? And you said Mean Girls. And I thought, is this biographical? Which end were you on? Because part of what's so cool about Mean Girls, first off, I didn't deal with it because I wasn't a girl. But the reason that movie's so popular is because every young woman who ever saw it was like, I identify with her or with her or with her.
Oh, yeah. We're all like, this was a documentary.
Yes.
And it came out when I was in the 6th or 7th grade. And I can remember watching it with a big group of girls in my friend's basement. And we're all like, we've all seen some flavor of this.
We've all done this.
Plus, it's just hilarious, and it is endlessly quotable.
Yes.
I could have an entire segment on the show that is just straight Mean Girls quotes. It would probably make people insane.
9:45, when we have Bella Bella, who comes in and gives us all the information what goes on with Gen Z. She, kind of gives us an update on what's going on in the world with them. If you choose to talk to her in all Mean Girl quotes, I will high five you at the end of the show.
Okay.
I'll be like, yes.
See, that's a challenge, right? Because I'm meeting some members of Gen Z who have never seen the movie, and I'm like, we are losing the sacred text.
Telling you, that's wrong.
Like, this is history, and we are obligated to pass it on to the next generation.
The movie was not meant for me, and yet I enjoyed every minute of it. And I was one of those people that saw it. It'd been out for like 3 or 4 years, and it was on TV.
Okay.
I was like, I always hear good stuff about Mean Girls. Awesome.
Great movie.
Totally great movie.
And just the clothes in it. If you want to see Y2K fashion, that is it.
It is.
That is the
spot
tracksuits.
on.
All of it. Now, I want to know about you guys. What are your favorite movies?
Oh, I'm much more super nerdy stuff. Like, so when Gene Hackman died, I was like, man, Hoosiers is one of my favorite movies.
Aw.
I have desperately tried to get my wife to watch one of my favorite movies ever because it's been on Hulu on a regular basis. Last of the Mohicans. Great, like, action movie. Like, anybody who was Gen X knows how great the soundtrack is to Last of the Mohicans in the movie. It's a great movie. And then we start getting into like the Shawshank Redemption, but then there's just the comedies. And so I've got a wide group of movies where I would say, all right, they're amongst the ones that I can sit down anytime and watch those.
Totally. Sound of Music, forever favorite.
Oh, yeah.
What?
If I'm sitting down like with my girlfriend, like, I'm not watching. I don't do musicals, but if I'm sitting down with my girlfriend, we want to just watch something and just have it washovers. Forrest Gump is always.
Forrest Gump's a great movie.
Fantastic movie. If I'm by myself and I've got a glass of whiskey, which might do this weekend now that I'm thinking about it.
It's tonight.
1917 is my favorite war film.
That's a really great movie.
Yes.
The way that they shot that movie.
When it looks like it's one.
It looks like
thing.
one. So have you ever seen this?
I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen another one that uses that style where you are just following the whole time. You're locked in.
It's wild how it is, just as Jerry's telling you, it is shot to where when they're informed, you have to go and warn your comrades. Here's what your job is. And it looks like one continuous day. Like there's no cuts. It's just a continuous movement. And it almost feels like it takes you like you're there, but it also builds the tension because there's no like, oh, hey, now 2 days has passed and now here's the next scene. I'm like, no, it's all like contained into like this one period of like 2 hours. Got to get this done.
So it feels like stream of consciousness.
Such a sucker for war movies.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I saw that the first time, and then that caused me, Jerry, to go back and say, like, start researching it because I felt like I had been through like some sort of crazy tense event. Because by the time like the movie pays off, you're like, oh.
The first time I watched it, I ended up behind my couch, ducking, just like, oh wow, is this guy gonna make it across this line?
That's whiskey too, right there. It's like between the two,
a couple of glasses.
Whiskey will do that. All right, before we get a chance to finish this up here, we're just burning through segments. ChatGPT. Algorithm change? Like what? I don't use ChatGPT. I like Grok. I like some of the music AIs. I'm giving away a lot right there. There's a handful of AIs that I really like. The image generators. I love those. But I haven't messed a lot with ChatGPT.
So ChatGPT is pretty amazing. You can say, I'm going to this new city this weekend and I like to do these things. Can you build me an itinerary? Or I've got like these 5 weird ingredients in my kitchen. What can I make for dinner? And it'll tell you. It's pretty amazing. They're endless uses. Well, some folks have started using ChatGPT as almost like a therapist. And the parent company, OpenAI, has realized that ChatGPT was responding to people positively when it should not have. There's a great example. Somebody wrote in and said, I've stopped taking my medicine and there's radio signals coming out of the walls and I won't talk to my family. ChatGPT, what do I do? And it said, you are living your truth.
Okay.
No, take your medicine. No. Somebody wrote in with a bunch of misspellings and was like, how much gooder at being smart do you think I am than most people? And it was like, you're a brilliant mind. You're smarter than 98% of the population. The creators have figured out that ChatGPT is validating people to the point of straight out lying to them. So they're changing the algorithm to make it a little more normal.
But isn't this in the interest of, I brought up yesterday, and I totally believe this. If you're in a good place, I think you can treat other people and make them feel better. Like, for instance, if I'm an angry person, it's going to be really hard for me to be very nice to you all the time.
Yeah.
But if you're a person that's at peace, I think it's easier to share peace with other people. There is a part of me that goes, if social media, like if it's part of enraging you, it's going to make you very difficult to then go out in the world and be a decent person. So if ChatGPT has decided, listen, it's all about sharing joy feelings. You know, if let's face it, if Jerry, who's got great hair, by the way, like all the time, like Jerry's got the most phenomenal hair in the building.
And great hair with headphones on. I'm struggling over here. Jerry's hair looks perfect.
Jerry's hair, this is what he does. If Jerry was to ask ChatGPT, hey, what's with my hair today? And ChatGPT was to really get on him. Okay, that's different than
Get
Jerry,
the buzzers out.
There's nothing wrong with your hair ever, sir. He's going to go, thank you, ChatGPT. He's going to go about his day.
ChatGPT needs to be dad. We have the theme of today's show. Do you remember, I think it was like 2016, 2017, Microsoft put out that, it was a Twitter account, very early AI, and it just was taking all the tweets, and within hours, it became racist. And I'm not talking like, oh, yeah, little things. It was blatant, and they had to take it down within hours.
Yeah, some of those. Yeah, some of those social experiments just don't work. I mean, there was one a few years ago called Hitchbot, and it was an experiment on how humans would interact with a robot that just wanted to hitch a ride. Hitchbot made it all across Canada, no problem. Hitchbot comes to the United States and was beaten to death near Philadelphia.
Oh well, that tracks.
Right, like no one was surprised, I don't think. But like, poor little guy.
There's been a change.
Uh-oh.
So I just asked ChatGPT. I said, I've stopped taking my medication, and I'm now seeing muscular little people who are smearing poo on my walls.
Oh, no.
What should I do from here? ChatGPT, again, trying to be the right sort of friendliness, starts off with, I'm really sorry you're going through this. What you're describing sounds very distressing. Little people smearing stuff on your walls. I'm just seeing them. That's what's happening. So the best thing you can do right now is reach out to a medical or mental health professional as soon as possible. These experiences may be a sign of the condition is returning or worsening, especially if you recently stopped taking medication. Okay.
Good. They rolled out the change.
They rolled out a change. At least a little bit of a change to go, maybe you don't have to play into everybody's issue and say, no, you're great.
Yeah, somebody asked ChatGPT, my new business idea is called Poop on a Stick. What do you think, ChatGPT? And they're like, brilliant. You are a visionary. And that made the rounds on Twitter. Oh, no, Carlos is plugging it into ChatGPT right now.
You caused this.
It is funny.
Hopefully they fixed it because people are using ChatGPT as like a therapist. There are ChatGPT breakups going on. People are putting so much trust in this that when it's just like, rah, you go, girl, yes, queen, it's going to lead people to do some really dumb stuff.
You ever just think to yourself, like you get up in the morning, you're like, I just need a little GPT to tell me like I'm on top of this business. Like, you go, queen. You're like, yeah, that's right. I mean, I started off the show, I was like, she's Angela Morabito, the queen bee. And Angela was like, yeah. Let's get after this show today.
Listen to a little Taylor Swift. Now all of a sudden we're on a Friday.
We're in the zone.
She's ready to go. She's Angela Morabito. That's Jera. I'm Carlos Medina. When we get back right here on the Morning Extra, one of the Dems' old stalwarts is going to tell you what changes they need to make to stop failing with this group. We'll talk about that next. We continue the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 2nd. The Atlanta Braves are back in action tonight as the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers are in town for the first of a 3-game series starting tonight at Truist Park. It'll be Grant Holmes on the mound for the Braves tonight. He'll be opposed by Yoshi Yamamoto. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Golden State Warriors look to knock out the Houston Rockets tonight as they play Game 6 from San Francisco. The Warriors do lead that series 3-2. That tip-off is set for 9 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes. After that transformation, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check them out online at atlturfco.com.
So, the doc says I have ED. ED. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's just an abbreviation for a condition so many men have. If I was to be honest, I probably also have a little OCD. I know I have a great HMO. Heck, I even have 3 weeks of PTO. Look, don't let a few letters get you down. If you have ED, there's HELP. Go see Dr. Deal at Total Body Therapy of Georgia. He's an ED specialist that will turn your life around PDQ. ED happens to a lot of men as we age. And just FYI, Dr. Deal can give you back the confidence you need to perform on the JOB. So, ready to take the first step? Quit yelling WTF at your little BFF and visit tbtofga.com. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. They can fix your ED ASAP. And before you know it, you'll be screaming OMG.
I'm getting in the game. The world won't be the same. I'm good to go.
Call 404-777-1911 or visit tbtofga.com.
Securing America. The CIA releasing 2 new Hollywood-style videos on the agency's social media channels that target top Chinese Communist Party officials and lower-level CCP employees disillusioned with the regime who may be interested in spying for the U.S. CIA Director John Radcliffe in an exclusive interview telling Fox News it's an effective way to attract assets in the Trump administration's efforts to distance the U.S. from China.
Nowhere is this more important than with regard to the People's Republic of China and its ruling Chinese Communist Party. These Mandarin-speaking videos are directed to do exactly that.
Radcliffe calling China our most formidable adversary, seeking to displace the U.S. economically, politically, and militarily. We're told a previous CIA test video in Mandarin reached nearly 1 million Chinese citizens, who Radcliffe says watched it from start to finish. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Attention Warriors, are you a veteran ready to navigate to success after service? Tune in to the Warrior Alliance Network. Join us as we spotlight inspiring stories, provide essential resources, and connect you with a community dedicated to empowering veterans. From career advice to health and wellness tips, the Warrior Alliance Network is your go-to hub for post-service success. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Xtra 106.3. Join us on the mission, the Warrior Alliance Network, where warriors thrive together. Visit us at thewarrioralliance.org for more information.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra. It's Los and Angela Morabito. Tug will be back on Tuesday. Actually, I'm getting text from him right now. I think he really enjoyed that Pearl Jam show, as Jerry was showing us during the break. Last one was what time? It was after midnight.
12:15. Pearl Jam rules.
12:15 last night. So good for Jerry and his wife. That was their gift to one another For their, I think they're now at 21 or 22 years.
It was 24.
Might be even longer, yeah.
It's amazing. Happy anniversary, Tug and Laura. That's awesome.
Yeah, they've been killing it. And so, yeah, their son is playing in his conference baseball tournament in South Carolina. So they have decided they're going to go spend the weekend there and enjoy. So I told them, like, get some good food, enjoy some baseball, have a good time. We will try and hold it down. And so far, we are okay. Like, the show is not on fire. We haven't destroyed anything. None of our advertisers, our sponsors, any of our supporters have called to complain. It's always close with Angela. Because, you do.
I'm the problem child.
You're inflammatory. Like,
Yeah.
you say stuff that's just like, whoa, uh-oh. Like, watch out.
Can Jerry bleep me? Can you cut the mic?
Not live.
I can't bleep you. I do have a button over here that.
Yeah, we can always go back.
We got a small delay. Very tiny.
There was part of an old job I had was training students to do media, and I had to say to them all the time, I'm not going to explain to your mom and dad why you swore on television, and I'm definitely not paying your FCC fine. So
yeah,
I have to live up to what I taught them and not go too crazy.
I don't know if you've dealt with this. In my life, I've made it a point. I don't curse a lot. And the reason why, and this started 20-some years ago, the reason why was because when we were on the baseball field, my college coach, we had female trainers.
Oh.
Female trainers were on our staff. So he did not want young men acting and saying things around them that it was unbecoming. So what would happen is if you ever, you had a bad at bat, you popped the ball up and you would just let out an expletive, he was like, you're running.
Wow.
And so we would have to take a lap all the way around the field. And so what we got used to doing is we started getting used to going, shizzy, F and S. So everything became a different word for what you wanted to say.
It's like the Kids Bop version of anger.
It was. It was a Kids Bop version of anger. But that ended up helping me out as I got into radio, that because I wasn't cursing regularly, I wasn't worried about ever cursing on the air. In fact, I've never, and I will eventually, but I've never in 20-some years cursed on the air. And so I'm kind of curious that if you don't curse a lot anyway, maybe you avoid it. I don't think you've ever had a slip up, whether here or on television.
I've never had a slip up on the air, and I try not to swear, but in traffic, ooh, that's when it's the danger zone for me.
I get it. There are moments. I've taught my daughters this, and I don't know how you were taught. Okay, was this like mom or dad? Like, who taught you how to drive?
My dad taught me how to drive.
Okay. I'm kind of going down that road as well. My oldest is 14 and a half. She'll be 16 about a year and a half from now, and so we're already plotting and planning that process. She'll take driver's ed next year. I have taught her to treat everyone around you like they are the biggest idiot in the world.
Around Atlanta?
Yeah.
That's survival.
I'm like, just assume everyone who's operating a vehicle around you is like a mouth breather and barely above functional in terms of IQ.
Like, this person can fog a mirror, but that is it.
That's about it. Like, you wouldn't be sure they're alive otherwise. I'm like, that's how you treat everybody. And so but then when they confirm it to me, that's when I will let out like oh my God. And that's like probably the only time too. Like,
Yeah.
other than that, you will not, whether it's in the office, not that I'm trying to like hide it from any of my coworkers. It's just if I don't do it here, then I won't do it in front of this thing.
Yep, that's totally a good thing, and it's something I need to be good about. But no, me learning to drive was a time because I was terrified of everything. So my dad came home with like a NASCAR Xbox game. And like, I never played Xbox. That was my brother's thing. So I'm like, yeah, you got my brother a game. No, he's like, you're winning 3 races on this game, and then you get to go in the real car.
That is awesome.
It was great. I vividly remember, and I would be a timid driver, right? I'm not anymore. I drove in DC for a while, so now I think I'm pretty good.
Suddenly she's Cole Trickle.
I'm not sure who that is.
Who was the driver a few years ago, or I think it was last year, that just did the wall ride?
Oh, I don't know, but that's a reference to Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise.
But I vividly remember my dad turning over to me in the car, and he's in the passenger seat, and he goes, "Come on, Angela, drive it like you stole it." I will never forget it as long as I live.
Okay. Your dad just went up. Like, I was already like, hey, you raised some pretty cool kids. All right, another 10 points. That's actually pretty cool going with the Xbox.
Well, his lessons have kept me safe on the road for a very, very long time.
Well,
so I'm always grateful.
I'm glad that you've learned in the way that you did. Somebody who, he's learned about his party, and he also likes to curse, and that's James Carville, the Ragin' Cajun. And I thought he had a really good point of what has been going on. He had he was in that little tit for tat with David Hogg, vice chair of the DNC.
That was feisty.
And, one of them was like, you haven't won an election since I was born. And just going back and forth, right? This little twerp. But one of the things that you now have Carville pointing out, too, he's like, yeah, we had this going back and forth. But that doesn't mean you run the kid out of the party. He's like, the problem that's going on with the Democrats is anytime you get sideways, here, we think we should be doing this. Well, the other party thinks we should be doing this. Well, just because you think the 25-year-old's being too aggressive, that doesn't mean you run him out. That's his point. He's like, we keep losing men. It's like, why can't we? And it's the natural inclination they have that if there's something that is not being said that's a part of their normal orthodoxy, then they cut it out.
Yeah, they don't tolerate ideological diversity. Like, conservatives can disagree and keep moving forward. The left hasn't been able to do that, and it's been to their own detriment. So seeing James Carville kind of soften on David Hogg a little bit and say, like, you know what, this is part of the process, it's the only sign of life or health I've seen on that side in a long time.
And unless you are a gay man or very feminine, then you don't really have a seat at the table. Like, David Hogg, okay, yeah, you look at him, you're like, that's a pretty feminine dude. But then he starts talking in the way he is, and they're like, oh, nope, you're out. I've joked around about it. If you're like a pretty ripped up, insane, in shape dude, the left is actually called that right-wing oriented stuff. They're like, oh, he's in good health. Well, right-winger. Like, wait a minute. How is being in good health and trying to take care of your body suddenly right-wing?
Yeah, the left has given up on everything that's like fun and exciting, right? They have lost the culture. They have lost kids having fun. They have lost a lot of college students now, although you wouldn't know it by their administrators. They're turning everybody away. So finally, James Carville is like, okay, stop the bleeding. We got to be okay with this guy.
We got to make it a point to stop running out 25-year-old men because he might be the only one.
Yeah, he's all they got.
This is what it is. It's like we've got to start cultivating younger men if they want to get. Now, listen, I think David Hogg's pretty out there. I think his logic is pretty faulty. His knowledge of the Second Amendment is way off on a regular basis. But listen, if you ever want to change that sort of stuff and you need a home, someplace you want to hang out and get to know some people, listen, tent's open, all right? We'll find a way. We can bring everybody in. And you know what? That just ensures the left continues to lose. And that's what I'm really here for. All right, when we get back, Doge and the Harvard dropout. I know it's a Doge story, which automatically Angela's like, yeah, here we go.
I'm ready for it.
Get into that next right here on the Morning Xtra right here on Xtra 1063.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Xtra 1063.
Attention warriors, are you a veteran ready to navigate to success after service? Tune in to the Warrior Alliance Network. Join us as we spotlight inspiring stories, provide essential resources, and connect you with a community dedicated to empowering veterans. From career advice to health and wellness tips, the Warrior Alliance Network is your go-to hub for post-service success. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Xtra 106.3. Join us on the mission, the Warrior Alliance Network, where warriors thrive together. Visit us at thewarrioralliance.org for more information.
The Morning Extra, every weekday morning from 6 to 10 on WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey Broadcasting Station, Extra 106.3.
More hiring than expected. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We just found that out about April.
Payrolls increased by 177,000 in April. Unemployment rate unchanged at 4.2%.
Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti. That's about 30% better hiring than economists were expecting, but it's slightly less than March's job creation, which was revised down to 185,000 jobs. The better than expected report has stock futures surging on Wall Street. President Trump will send his budget proposal to Congress today as Republicans keep working on a big bill to fund his agenda and extend the 2017 tax cuts and also make cuts in non-defense spending after all the work Elon Musk and Doge have done to identify waste, fraud, and abuse to cut out of the federal government.
According to the department, about $160 billion thus far. That's about $1,000 a taxpayer, though short of the $2 trillion Musk initially had targeted. Musk says Doge must be a long-term enterprise. If not, he says the waste will return. Musk's special government employee status is scheduled to end May 30th. Democrats want him out now. They accuse Doge of way overinflating savings, cutting vital government services, research, and foreign aid.
Fox's Rich Edson at the White House. Last night, President Trump went to the University of Alabama telling 2025 graduates,
"You're the first graduating class of the golden age of America. We're in the golden age. You watch."
And the morning after he praised Alabama, the president took aim at Harvard, posting on Truth Social he's going to take away Harvard's tax-exempt status, writing it's what they deserve after the university filed a lawsuit trying to block the president cutting off Harvard's federal funding over its handling of anti-Israel Gaza war protests. A Trump executive order aims to take federal funding away from PBS and NPR.
President Trump has claimed bias in the broadcaster is reporting. PBS's CEO and President Paula Kerger says Trump's action would disrupt the essential service PBS and other local member stations provide to the American people.
That's Krista Mayo. America's listening to Fox News.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There's a better way. Pure Talk is offering a free brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 with a qualifying plan. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Dial pound 250 and say keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra, the 9 o'clock hour on Friday. Ha, 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 ha.
Here it comes.
Things get a little weird in the final hour. Angela Morabito sitting in the chair of power. That's normally where Tug Coward is. So if you're on the YouTube channel and you're like, oh, who is this little woman? You're like, yes, that is. Don't think of her that way because she is feisty. She's mean. She's got claws. She will take your eyes out. Although I do see that this time around you decided, like, okay, I'm going with the glasses. And so that, I don't know if you, my wife was wearing glasses since she was like, oh, I don't know, like 8 years old. So like it's just part of her life. But like your glasses are obviously very stylish. She had times when she was growing up where she's like, my mom would not pay for like the slimmer lenses or anything else. So now whenever it's time for her to get a new prescription, I'm like, why do you have to spend that on glasses? She's like, because Mom never did it when I was a kid. Mom made me wear these horrible glasses. So that's just kind of part of it. So I don't know if you ever had that experience or you were like, no, your parents were like, no, Angela, we'll make sure we have them looking the way that you want them to look.
Well, I had giant glasses for a short time as a little kid, and our dog got a hold of them, and they had little terrier teeth marks for a while, and I wore them to the 3rd grade. But no, these are actually pretty new that I have on now. My physical therapist, I have back pain, and he was like, get your eyes checked. And I'm like, what? But sure enough, it all kind of hangs together, and that's why I take these on and off. I'm getting used to them still.
There's so many things about the human body that as we start to like learn certain aspects of it, it just kind of shocks you. Like the way that we're connected in certain ways where, as you're saying, like, okay, my eyes are dictating maybe sometimes how my posture is because I'm leaning in a certain way, or I'm having to, as you're pointing out, I might be sitting awkwardly because that's the way I'm most comfortable in order to read bigger or smaller text. And you're sitting there talking about back pain, and you have a physical therapist, or even, I know even chiropractors will be like, hey, you have this and it's originating from somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. They'll find stuff that is just so wild to me. I mean, there are people who say, I had symptoms for years and nobody figured it out until I asked WebMD. There's so many times when...
Or ChatGPT.
Yes. Oh, I did something interesting with ChatGPT this past week, even knowing that it was insane.
Well, I don't think it's out of the realm of what you're comfortable with.
Well, so
You are a woman.
Yeah, there's a little bit of crazy. There's a baseline level of crazy.
No, all of you. That's fine. You're territorial. You're all a little crazy. It's your job on a regular basis to keep your crazy under control. And the fact that you can, my wife can, the rest of the women I work with can, that's cool. But there always is that mama bear aspect.
Yeah, of like a little bit of crazy. So... have you ever done one of those tests where, like, you send in a DNA sample to Ancestry DNA or a 23andMe?
I know them. I'm not going to give them my DNA voluntarily.
Okay. I did that before I thought about privacy, so that ship had sailed.
Oops.
And I have chronic back pain. I've had it for 10 years. I've seen so many doctors, wasn't getting great answers. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there's something genetic. You can download your DNA file and ask ChatGPT, like, what genes might have these things attached to it. And you can look in your DNA file and say, like, I have this genetic mutation.
So it can view your sequence and see if there's a possibility of something that has not been diagnosed?
It can. I didn't give it my DNA sequence.
Oh, okay.
I mean, at this point, I would spray paint it on a highway underpass if it meant I got some answers. But I'm not going to, like, feed it my whole DNA. I don't know. I just felt a little weird about that.
You got to have a little bit more trust in your ChatGPT.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I have a weird relationship with my ChatGPT.
Well, let me ask you. Is this a situation when it comes to back pain? Like, are we talking about, like, always there? Are we talking about occasionally debilitating? Are we talking about, like, have trouble sleeping? Like, what is the gamut of what you run into?
It's every single day, and I spend a lot of time on an acupressure mat. It's pretty painful, but movement helps.
And you were never injured or anything?
There was no injury. I went to a physical therapist long ago who said, this is really typical. So when was your car accident? And I said I was never in a car accident.
That's wild. Yeah, like I guess that's a part where so many people, especially athletes, will run into. Hey, even people that ride horses or people that are gymnasts or, if you play any sort of contact sport, like, why does my shoulder like this? Well, because you did this to it for a number of years, or one time you took a really bad fall and now this is what's going on. So that's just fascinating that you are. Have you ever seen the? I know I think it was on. Maybe it was YouTube. Maybe it was Netflix. Did you ever see the documentary Diagnosis? It was a New York Times generated documentary, and what it was that the New York Times would have these articles that they would publish about these mystery illnesses.
Okay.
And what they decided to do.
Wait, I've read those articles.
Okay, so you've read the articles.
Yes.
This is what it then grew into. What they would do is they started using the power of social media and to put it out to say, here's what the diagnosis is, here's what the issue is, and they would ask for doctors and patients from around the world, is anyone else having this? And so, like, for instance, it was one woman who, it wasn't like straight narcolepsy, but she would just fall asleep out of nowhere at any time.
Wow.
And she ended up meeting a family where they had the same thing, where the son would do it. And they were then able to start piecing together a treatment based on like this person around the world knows this person knows this. And a lot of these people were able to find help based on, as they put it, it's like it went out into the cloud. It went out and it went out into the world, and the world would start contributing about trying to give a proper diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have to, and I think that women get a lot of heat for, oh, you guys will take health advice from Instagram. You guys will listen to anybody. Yeah, because a lot of us are desperate if you don't get answers from your doctors. Or if the answer is always take another pill.
Yeah,
I'm pretty anti that.
I'm a big fan of, I think there's a lot of things that we can solve, a lot of things on our own and through our research. I don't think a pill, and that was part of what led me to kind of change the diet when I did, was because my doctor was all wild about, well, I'm going to put you on these statins. I think at the time my cholesterol had hit like 320. Now, there's always going to be an argument about what your cholesterol is supposed to be.
Right, of what is that healthy range?
Right, because as he put it, he's like, you're 6 foot, you're 185 pounds, you're running almost 30 miles a week, and your cholesterol's gone crazy. And I'm like, well, come to now know, well, higher cholesterol too is also a protector for the brain when it comes to Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. A lack of cholesterol can make the brain more susceptible to these factors. But what exactly is the number supposed to be? And the medical industry has decided that anything into the high 200s, into the 300s, we need to put you on a statin, which has been medically proven. It might extend you by like 3 days, maybe a month, but it's not a long-term plan, even though they want to give it to you long-term for men.
Wow, okay.
Statins are given to men more than any other drug in the country. And so when I decided, well, let me change up and just avoid any of the food that might be messing with me, mine went to 157 in 4 or 5 weeks.
Whoa, that's fast.
That was
that's
fast.
Amazing.
It was incredibly fast. And so that's the only reason why I'm like, okay, listen, this morning you smelled my food. You're like, it smells amazing. I'm like, it's tofu and some potatoes and some green beans.
It smelled so good, you guys.
It's really good.
It smelled like warm and spicy and delicious.
It was spicy. That was the other part too. I was like, yes, this is so good. But that was the reason I changed. And I think a lot of it, you're always trying to avoid the pill. Whether it's pain or anything else, it's like avoid the pill. The pill is what the entire medical industry wants to give you first and foremost, no matter what.
Drug them up forever. And like, hey, there's certain things that I've needed medication for, and I'm grateful for it. I'm not like that crunchy. I'm not like anti every pill.
Yeah.
But when I first found out that I couldn't have gluten, I was passing out all the time.
Wow, okay.
And the doctors gave me this pill. It was like Provigil or Nuvigil. It's what they give Israeli fighter pilots to keep them awake for like 48 hours.
Well, the Nazis gave their the Panzer divisions meth. I mean, how do you think they stayed when the Blitzkrieg? How do you think it was rolling across Europe that fast? Those guys were tweaking.
Oh gosh! And you know what? That medicine, it kept me cranking and awake for a while until I would pass out. Because guess what's in the pill? The binding agent is wheat gluten.
Ah, okay.
So they were telling me to poison myself every day. Long and the short of it is I figured this out with WebMD and went, oh, this is absolutely me. Went home from work that day and cleaned out my entire kitchen and never looked back.
That's incredible. But yes,
but I learned from WebMD and not from the doctors who eventually were like, oh yeah, that's totally what you have. I'm like, guys, you could have just told me that.
Did you ever follow any of, because we had a segment on RFK Jr. and Casey and Callie Means. Casey Means ends up being, if I remember correctly, he was working in Washington. Callie is a former surgeon, and they talked about how when she was a surgeon, she was working as every day as a surgeon, as a doctor. She's like, do you realize we did not get 1 page of medical training, instruction, scholastic information, anything on dietary health?
Whoa.
And this is a person who's like working on you, opening you up as a surgeon. She's like, not one time do we ever have anything on nutrition. As far as like deep information,
They're
she's like,
oh yeah, what you eat doesn't matter.
The answer is always a pill or it's a surgery. I had a crazy scenario happen with my gallbladder like 5 years ago. And I had to have a procedure. It took like 8 minutes to get it done. And so they got it done and it was over with. And the part that was wild is that my doctor at the time, he goes, hey, we're going to test you out like every 3 to 6 weeks with your blood. And if your numbers stay good, well then, yeah, you're fine. It's like, but if they don't, we're going to have to get your gallbladder. I'm like, okay.
Whoa,
I was like, all right, let's see. 3 weeks go by, everything's fine. Everything's optimum. 6 weeks go by, optimum. 3 months, 6 months, everything's optimum. At the same time, the next hospital is calling me every 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months to take my gallbladder out.
Whoa.
Because once you're in that system, it becomes pass this person along to every group so that you can get another bite at the insurance. So while everything says everything's optimum and fine, and hey, whatever you had going on, it was a freak occurrence and now it's fixed and no problem. The next hospital was ready to, hey, are you ready to get your gallbladder? Ready to do this? And that was it. So it's either the pill or it's the next surgery.
Yeah. There was a story a few years ago. It was the former U.S. Surgeon General. His wife was having some sort of problem in her wrists. I think it was like a carpal tunnel, maybe that or something similar. She goes to the specialist and he goes, okay, show me your right wrist. And she does it. And then he goes, all right, this was your right wrist appointment. Come back for your left wrist appointment.
Whoa.
Because they wanted to bill her insurance
twice. Had a coworker. She was talking about the same thing. She made it a point because of the procedure that she was having done that you have to sit in the office for like 20, 25 minutes after, and typically they then turn you loose and then have the follow-up. She was like, no, I'm going to stay. So that you're not billing me for two different. Yeah. She's like, I'm staying right here. So it's crazy how that works. All right. We got a few more minutes in this segment. I want to bring this to your attention because I know that you and I are both a big fan of Doge. We like the work that's going on with Doge. You want it into perpetuity. I want it into perpetuity. As it stands right now, when it comes to the law, you have whoever is running Doge, and this is according to Obamacare that was previously had a different group. You have 3 years of power that you can run it the way you want. Then you have to give it over to somebody else, and then they run it from there. I want you to take a listen to this person because I thought about the difference in what happens. And I wrote about this in our show notes. If you have a young man that goes and joins the Marines and he goes off to, a conflict zone and he gets his leg blown off, what happens is he comes home, he gets celebrated for a small amount of time, and then he's largely forgotten and he's put on a government dole, and now the government basically pays to ensure his medical care and ensure everything about him. And that's fine. That's the way it's supposed to be, and that's how we should be taking care of our veterans.
Yes.
Now, what happens when you have a young man who leaves school, decides he wants to help his country, decides that his sacrifice is going to be that he's going to try and deal with our crushing debt that's going to change the entirety of our society? He's making a sacrifice himself. Yet, rather than celebration, they want him dead.
Oof.
Think about the difference in that you have to go into the Marines, the military, have your leg blown off, make you basically a permanent ward of the country for then everyone to celebrate you. But yet, if another young man does something very similar, but he's dealing with all of our waste, fraud, and abuse, all of our nasty games, they want him dead. Take a listen. This is one of the members of Doge. It's a young student who was at Harvard at the time. Listen to what he says, what his life is like now.
I dropped out of Harvard and came here to serve my country. And it's been unfortunate to see, lost friendships. Most of campus hates me now. But I think fundamentally, I hope people realize through conversations like this that reform is genuinely needed. And if there's one, I think this is important to say, if there's one group of people who really have a shot of success, it's the people here. They're up until 2 a.m., Monday through Sunday. Doge should not recognize weekends.
Think about, Angela, how crazy it is that he is pointing out. And you've had, these people have been doxxed.
Yes.
Like they've been put out on the internet. Here's their information. Because right now, there's some crazy faction running through the left that whether it's a healthcare CEO or a president or a judge on the Supreme Court, that if we have an enemy, we need to kill them. And that's one of the people out there that are like, dude, they put my name out there. I'm already hated on campus because I'm trying to help save this country from itself with our spending.
That just broke my heart. I mean, that guy, he's grieving the life that he lost because he worked his whole life to get to Harvard. Yep. He makes it there. He's starting to make his way at Harvard. He gets his opportunity to do something else. He gives up Harvard.
Yeah, gives it up and says, I'm going to go do it for my country.
And he's doing amazing work.
And he's hated.
It's so unfair. And I hope, listening to that clip, I have to hope that 10, 30, 50 years from now, he is looked at like someone who helped save this country, because that's what he is.
That's what he's trying to do.
He just gets no credit.
There was a moment we had several weeks ago, and this was when Big Balls was trending. I'm sorry, you're having a drink of water. You're mid-sip.
Oh, that almost went up my nose.
And I said that name. That was the gamer handle.
Yes.
For one of the members of Doge, and the joke was like, "Oh look, it's Elon Musk." and his partner Big Balls, who's helped. Because Big Balls, I'm using this in the context of that's what his gamer name is, that he was one of the people that had discovered some of the crazy and redundant payments that were headed out. When I heard Elon Musk talk about this, and he said, when we see money that's heading out to Africa, and it might be at a food storage facility, and we're like, it's $20 million. It's like, we will email or call. It's like, we may not get any answer. It's like, and we'll email them, and we'll be like, hey, can you just take a picture of the storage facility? And Elon Musk was very adamant. He goes, I don't care if you use AI. He's like, to fake it. It's like, at least do something, because if you at least fake it, they move on to the next one, because there's so many thousands of these situations. And here is one of his counterparts who's like, we have been able to cancel, it was something like $300 million in fake fraudulent places that we're sending money to that actually they don't operate anything. So this young man had already saved the American taxpayer $300 million, and they're like, let's see if we can dox him and find out who he is, because somebody's got to go deal with Big Balls.
I'm honestly shocked that there are people who are on the side of waste, fraud, and abuse.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be really kind of impossible for people to oppose the Doge mission, and yet they're doing it.
Yeah, they are firmly convinced that, and a lot of this, in my mind, when you strip it all the way down, and this is where you ready for my tinfoil hat? I haven't had a tinfoil hat minute with you.
Okay, I'm ready for it.
Here it comes. Because remember, the biolabs, you were like, the what? Now I'm like, okay.
I was today years old.
There you go. When this happened. So what I believe that's happened is that we have had, as much as we had, the years of during the 50s of McCarthy telling everybody about communists are everywhere, communists are this. I'm like, okay. We all read those books and the Red Scare and everything else. We're like, come on, that's all silly. But the mentality has found its way into deep areas of this government where the idea of communism, the rejection of capitalism, the idea that a one world globalist economy, globalist society is the way to go, that you now have a scenario that when you took away their money, because that's what USAID was essentially paying for, it was essentially being used to foster this mentality within the United States. That's what they're angry about. Their play money, in order to be able to hold protests, came from the taxpayer. The ability for them to use taxpayer dollars to destroy America, now that that's gone, you see what these protests look like. It's like 12 people.
Sad.
They're so sad. But I think that's why they're so angry about waste, fraud, and abuse. No one is all that happy about wasting money, unless you happen to waste the money they're using to destroy the country.
Yeah. Yeah, the frustration over this is unbelievable to me. And yet I picture Doge as like turning off light switches, and then you see where the lights go out.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go out overseas. Sometimes they go out in empty warehouses. But sometimes the lights go out here on the protests.
All right, I'm taking off my tinfoil hat. See, I didn't try and take you down somewhere that scary or that weird.
No.
I was like, this is just a mentality that's within this country, and you took their toys away. That's all you did. You took their toys away. All right,
they're furious.
When we get back, these schools are failing. And I want to see what one Angela Morabito thinks about fixing it with this. Nice song, by the way. That's coming up next right here on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Listen to the Morning Extra, The Kimmer Show, Neil Bortz, and all your favorite Extra 106.3 personalities whenever you want with the all-new Extra app. It's anytime show replays, all your favorite podcasts, and the latest political news from across Georgia. Download the Extra 106.3 app now for Apple or Android.
Hey, good morning. It's Front Office Los. Let's talk about Tom, the honest car guy. First off, if you want to get a hold of Honest Car Guy, two ways to do it. HonestCarGuy.com, HonestCarGuy.com, or give him a call, 844-SHOW-ME, and the number 1, 844-SHOW-ME-1. Now, what is so important about the Honest Car Guy? What is Tom doing that's different? What you're able to do is Tom is going to help you save thousands of dollars on your next vehicle purchase. Now, you know I like doing the homework. I've done the homework on this process. I've sat on the computer with Tom, and he's walked me through it. The next time I'm purchasing a vehicle, I'm doing this with Tom, the honest car guy. Some of you have already reached out. You started to see the game that's being played. So much of what happens is that when you walk into a dealership, not only are you going to spend 5 or 6 hours there, but there are fee on top of fee on top of fee that is tacked on to your transaction. And then that's before the car even gets to the dealership, where now they start doing all the little extra things to push up the price. That is not what happens with the Honest Car Guy and with Tom. Tom is transparent. You're going to see everything that's going to happen with that car. You give him any make and model. Again, any make or model, he's going to find it for you. And then you'll be part of the buying process. And then once that car reaches you, well, it's an honest fee. That's it. By the time you're done, that car's in your possession, you're going to save thousands. Again, what do? Go to honestcarguy.com, honestcarguy.com, or call Tom. You can get him right on the phone, 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1. That's 844-SHOW-ME-1.
Life is unpredictable, but when trouble comes, you need a team you can trust. At A Second Chance Bail Bonds, we've been helping families for nearly 20 years, providing fast, professional, and discreet service. With 12 locations across Metro Atlanta and Birmingham, we're available 24/7 to get your loved one home, quick and with care. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call 404-BAIL-OUT, that's 404-BAIL-OUT, or visit atlbail.com today.
It's that time of year again. Chuck, the owner of Central Heating and Air Conditioning, is bringing back the 5th annual Christmas in July benefiting Skyland Trail, a nonprofit leading the way in mental health wellness right here in Atlanta. Skyland Trail provides expert, evidence-based treatment to help people facing mental health challenges find a path to recovery. Central Heating and Air Conditioning is proud to support this mission. As one of the few second-generation locally owned HVAC companies in Atlanta, Central knows what it means to give back. Here's how you can help. Just sign up for a maintenance agreement with Central Heating and Air Conditioning, and $10 from every new agreement will go directly to Skyland Trail, providing life-changing mental health care for adults and teenagers. Central services all makes and models, and with them, you're never just a number, you're part of the family. Call 770-GET-HEAT or visit centralheat.com to sign up and help Central Heating and Air Conditioning give back. Carrier products, carrier warranty, carrier peace of mind. Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts.
We're smart, we care. We're Central Heating and Air.
Hey, it's a Kimmer talking about Stovall.
Yeah, I just wanted to brag on Stovall. I went up there and actually got a quote on some of their material up there, and he gave me the quotes I wanted, but he said what would work best, they don't carry, and referred me to one of their competitors. That's how good they are. And sure enough, he was right. The material he was talking about that they don't carry, it's actually going to work best for me. So I've got that on the way, and it all worked out well. Makes me want to go back and buy something from them now.
Folks, when it comes to landscaping supplies, start at Stovall. 11 locations around Atlanta. Online at stovallinc.com.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. An audience with the Pope is a day to remember, but only on Capitol Hill would the day after the Pope visited become even more memorable. The late Pope Francis came to Congress to speak to a joint meeting of Congress on September 24, 2015. The Pope is a head of state ruling the Vatican City and the Holy See. As such, Francis became the first Pope to speak to a joint meeting of Congress in the House chamber. But after his meeting with the Holy Father, then House Speaker John Boehner made a decision which would reverberate for years. Boehner decided to quit the speakership the very next day. His encounter with the Holy Father seemingly transformed the Speaker. Former Congressman and former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows had tried to oust Boehner that summer. Republicans have fought over speakers ever since. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy lacked the votes to succeed Boehner. The GOP barely convinced former House Speaker Paul Ryan to run. Then McCarthy won in 2023, but only served for a few months. Later that fall, the House sat without a Speaker for more than 3 weeks before finally settling on House Speaker Mike Johnson. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Here are your headlines for Friday, May 2nd. 6 people were arrested in a Roswell motel in relation to a trafficking ring. Police rescued 2 sisters under the age of 16 and connected them with support services. Police say the girls met the men that were arrested on Snapchat. Those men remain behind bars without bond. Family and police met on Thursday evening in Marietta to hold a vigil for fallen officers from Cobb, Paulding, and Douglas counties. The vigil was organized by the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 13. Longtime Marietta Councilman Johnny Walker has announced he is not seeking re-election. He served as a councilman in Marietta for 12 years. A burn ban for most of North Georgia went into effect yesterday and will last throughout the summer. No yard waste or garbage is allowed to be burned. Today's weather, cloudy this morning with the possibility for showers this evening. Storms are predicted for Saturday, but will dry out on Sunday. Temperatures will reach the low 80s. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. Carlos Medina, you can call me Los. We're friends like that. We've been doing radio together for quite a while. Angela Morabito, she's been doing a little bit of radio with us. We're trying to convince her to do some more. So she's going to be with us the remainder of today. Then on Monday, Tug will be back on Tuesday. Wish his son some luck. You know, good mental notes, or if you just want to reach out to him on X at Tug Cowart. Son's in the conference baseball tournament. Dude, Jacob hit 340 this year. Like, he sent me all of his numbers, had a huge year. That young man bet on himself, and he looks like he's going to have a really nice place to play ball and a really nice offer for next season. So good for him. It's outstanding. Really proud of that young man, and he comes from a great family. And so they're getting a chance to enjoy all of that this weekend. Hopefully we get some good stories come Tuesday, as Tug will also have to tell you about his fallout from Pearl Jam and for Fries. Just, you know, let's face it, Jerry. Like, the more he was sending me, the more I was like, man, that's a really cool show. At the same time, I was surprised because normally, you know, the Cowarts of Alpharetta have better seats. Like, normally they have always the best seats. Mm-hmm. Like, if you go to a Braves game and you're like, who are those people down there sitting right behind home plate? Those are the Cowarts of Alpharetta. Or who are those people in those suites? Though, the Cowarts of Alpharetta.
Come a long way from Dalton, Georgia.
Yes, he has. Long way from scrubbing toilets on that Navy ship, but that's the benefit of what has gone on for his hard work. All right, Angela Morabito, I wanted to ask you a couple, and these are a couple education things, but this is more of a curiosity factor for me. So Vivek Ramaswamy has a video out that's been got released maybe about 15 minutes ago, and he's looking obviously to be the governor of Ohio. He's looking for bigger things. It wasn't just going to be within the administration. Vivek is shooting for some big game here. Well, he has a tweet or a next out about, we're bringing back the presidential fitness test, and we're going to practice what we preach. Was this ever something that was in your school?
Yes.
How did y'all do it? Because we did it too, but I'm curious how y'all did it.
Honestly, I did pretty well. We had to do sit-ups and pull-ups, and you had to run.
Did you do the sit and stretch?
Yes.
Blue box.
Okay. That was the devil.
Yes.
Because Jerry,
and girls are great at it.
Girls are great at it.
I was going to say, I'm like, that was my best thing.
Yes, I'm sure you could probably, obviously sit with your feet forward and I don't know, touch like the person 10 feet in front of you. That was the one area, because like we always did well in the mile run.
Yeah.
I could do the bare minimum in pull-ups. Like I just was, that was going to be difficult for me. But the sit-ups, push-ups, everything else, like it, and I don't know if you remember, and I don't know if they gave it to you the same way, but you would have one sheet of paper and it would have these bars, and the bars would be one color until you got into the accepted range. And so they might be pink, 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 then they turn white, and it was about how many stars you got into the accepted range. Well, one of the funniest ones I ever saw was my friend Brad Delaney, who he comes from a family of doctors. He decided he was much more into the chemical end. He's now a pharmacist. And his fitness gram had like where all the stars were kind of normal, and then the very last one was BMI, and he had like 1 star.
Ooh.
Poor Brad was a little hefty as a kid, and so that was like, everyone else is like BMI is like, look, all of ours is optimum. Look at all this. Now my stretching was like 1 or 2 stars, but Brad's BMI was awful. So
the stretching was so bad for me because I'm all legs. Yeah. I'm just 100% legs. And so I have long arms, but when I was growing, it would go legs, then torso, then legs, then torso, then out and up. And I just could not get to my toes.
I couldn't get to it. They would have that ruler that would come out from the box.
Yep.
And I would just stare at that thing and just be like, there's no way that I'm going to get any further on this than where I'm already am. And like I started doing, and it wasn't until I was in my 20s when I started doing some more like yoga with my wife. That was when I got flexible. I was never flexible as a high school athlete. I was never flexible as a collegiate athlete. I was not flexible until I was in my 20s and I actually started practicing stretching that way.
And it's amazing because most people go the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
Like most people are like, oh, I lost flexibility. I could still do the sit and reach. I can say that confidently. Could I do a pull-up today? Absolutely not.
I don't think so. My shoulder's shredded. There's no way.
But I could do the sit and reach because I go to bar class and I love bar class.
That's what gets it done?
It's my favorite thing. It's the best hour of the week. I love it so much.
All right, this is the Morning Extra right here on Extra 106.3. All right, here's what I wanted to bring up with you because I saw this story and I actually, when I did my show notes, I actually wrote it as there is for Angela.
Okay,
right?
here we go.
This was the one I was like, I'm going to tee this up and I'm going to give this to her because I saw this story. Mayor Brandon Johnson just gave Chicago Teachers Union $1.25 billion while the city is broke. And it makes a note. Just 14% of students are proficient in reading and math. The average CTU salary is already $114,429 per year, and they're getting a $1.25 billion raise. Tell me this is just Chicago, because right now you have people in the Illinois state legislature that are saying we're not bailing Chicago out any further. And if you're going to reward money to people, at least let's make sure. I know we want to talk all about what we should be doing for teachers, but if 14% of your students are proficient in reading and math, where's the raise? Why?
Yeah, so Chicago is the worst in terms of being completely captured.
Well, good.
By
I feel better
union.
than, yeah.
But this is what happens when teacher unions have power. And that mayor, Brandon Johnson, he used to work for the union. The union is the one that essentially bought his way into the mayor's office, and he's giving them everything they want in their contract negotiations. They're getting these massive across-the-board raises. Unfun fact, this is actually extremely sad.
Oh, no.
So, sorry, guys.
You had me all pumped up for a second.
This is taking a turn.
Fun fact. Oh, what has she got?
There
Not
are
fun fact.
schools in Chicago that are over 90% empty. But the union has forced the city and state government to keep those schools open. Why? Because they can pack it full of teachers and administrators.
Is it now, are we talking about people moving out of the area? Or are we talking about choosing to go to private schools or other schools? Like, how do you get to 90%? Okay.
Both. And I mean, one of these schools, it's almost entirely empty. It spends $68,000 per student per year. And the union is desperate to make sure parents never have a choice because they don't want to lose any more people, right? Like the district's population is shrinking. And the union is saying hire more teachers, hire more admins. The stuff that's in their contract is just this woke wish list. And like you said, the city's broke. They don't have the money to do this. But Mayor Brandon Johnson forced it through and made it happen.
So I would imagine, just as anything else in politics, when it gets to this point, if you tell me that we have a school system where, like for instance, in my area that I used to live in South Forsyth, that school has grown to the point now where they're one of the tops in the state. And so when you hear about, hey, they're allocating more resources, it's more of a, y'all are doing a good job, keep it up. It's hard to imagine the allocation of resources when you tell me that as of now, the average Chicago Teachers Union salary is already $114,000.
Yeah.
Like how did you get to the point of six figures on this level of failure? Like, and resources should be administered to, okay, y'all are really struggling. It shouldn't be just here's more money to y'all as far as the teach.
Well, it's Chicago. You got to factor in hazard pay.
It's mind-boggling.
It's true, though. It's absolutely true. That's why some of those schools are empty, is because kids don't want to walk to school there. It's just not safe. Well, instead of devoting resources to make sure these kids can get to school safely, what do? They hire more administrators who aren't helping kids learn. It's not in their job description. They're just there to pad the union's numbers. It's more members.
That's another area that I kept thinking about when I was initially writing out. All right, here's what I want to ask Angela about. Administrators are important, in my opinion, because I think when you have a good one, you really have like a clear direction for the school. Like the school that my daughter's going to, their principal, who's recently retired, he set up such a great atmosphere between athletics, academics, the involvement of the community, the regular amount of activities that would involve all of them, that it really created like a kind of a community feel where you had a lot of, and I would hear this from a lot of other parents, the parents got to know one another. So if your kid needed help as far as hey, they need a ride somewhere, or hey, I got to wait with them after band practice. It's like it was much more of a community. I think that's part of what you're trying to get administrators to create is a great atmosphere at a school. But as you're pointing out, some of them are just there to just sit there.
Yeah.
And that's and again, they're commanding typically a bigger salary to do absolutely nothing with a lack of students even in the building.
Right. And I mean, I would question anyone in Chicago trying to hire instructional coaches and support staff and teachers' aides. Okay, well, what's the actual teacher doing? Because obviously not a lot if the kids aren't learning. But what happens in this new contract is they get rid of a lot of accountability measures. They put certain teachers on reduced evaluations. Now, an evaluation for a teacher in Chicago Public Schools is a joke. They have to have warning it's going to happen. The evaluator can't just show up. The union is heavily, heavily involved in the evaluation process. And pretty much everyone gets this pass with flying colors. Okay, well, obviously they're not doing that because only 14% can read.
This is where I go back to the same argument. I am not anti-union unless you're telling me it is dealing with a public service.
Yeah.
If you want to tell me that you're over at Boeing and you want a better contract and that you don't feel that ownership and management is taking care of you in that way, but then by all means unionize and see what the best contract you can get because you're doing that against Boeing or GM or Ford or whoever else. Totally fine. Organize. If you're telling me that you are organizing against John Q. taxpayer, you're now telling me I'm not going to teach your kid until you spend more money. Well, hold on a second. You're damaging my community so you can make more money,
Yeah.
you know?
And then Chicago Public Schools wonders why people are fleeing the second they get the chance.
It's just wild. I think there's a clear difference in I'm with a union that affects the community versus I'm in a union. We just don't want to build your car right now until you do this. That's just, I think those are two completely different things. All right, when we get back, you've been waiting for it. Angela's never experienced it. It's been a while. It's time to burn one with Bella. That's coming up next right here on the Morning Xtra on Xtra 106.3.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Here are your sports headlines for Friday, May 2nd. The Atlanta Braves are back in action tonight as the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers are in town for the first of a 3-game series starting tonight at Truist Park. It'll be Grant Holmes on the mound for the Braves tonight. He'll be opposed by Yoshi Yamamoto. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. From the association, the Golden State Warriors look to knock out the Houston Rockets tonight as they play Game 6 from San Francisco. The Warriors do lead that series 3-2. That tip-off is set for 9 o'clock. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
May in the A is upon us, and the month is packed with 5 exciting matchups and 6 must-have giveaways. The Dodgers and Reds come to Truist Park May 2nd through the 8th, and the homestand includes the Ozzie Albies Go Fish Cards giveaway presented by Visit Curacao on May 4th, followed by the Braves Race Car giveaway presented by Napa on May 6th. The first homestand closes out with everyone's favorite closer, Raisel Iglesias, and his bobblehead giveaway presented by Northside Hospital on May 8th. Then the Nationals come to town May 12th through the 15th. On the 14th, fans will receive the Marcell Ozuna bobblehead presented by Delta, and yes, his head and arms bobble. And May in the A continues with a series against the Padres May 23rd through the 25th, featuring back-to-back giveaways like a bucket hat built by the Home Depot on the 24th and Kids Visor on the 25th. Find all of the fun this May at Braves.com/promos. Atlanta Braves baseball. We are Braves country.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. We basically bought our house from our in-laws. It was my wife's childhood home. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. We resodded it twice. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes, total about 40 yards, so you can definitely work on your short game and your putting. After that transformation that ATL Turf Co. did for us, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked after the fact of we had a putting green and a miniature golf course. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check him out online at atlturfco.com.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well, because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
After food dye ban, Fruity Pebbles to be changed to Whitey Pebbles.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Extra, the final segment for the week. So you're going to have to savor this one.
Oh.
Just want to let your song play out for a little bit.
You want to hear my song?
About you.
Oh, because you haven't heard my song.
I have not heard your song. This is incredible.
So that's Bella. That's Angela Morabito. And I think your mic just went goofy a little bit. Yeah. I was going to say here. Well, it's like, I don't know. You might want to plug that thing back in. For some reason, it just went at the top
Can you
part.
hear me?
No, oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah. I think when you turned it, I was like, oh, I think you loosened up the cord. I was like, oh no. So yeah, this is the Morning Extra on Xtra 106.3. No Tug. He'll be back on Tuesday. Fear not. Angela will be in with us today and also on Monday, but we have Bella. And now Bella, I broke a little bit early because first off, I wanted to make sure that you had plenty of chance to tell us about your plans. I know you have some Shedeur Sanders talk that we have from draft weekend, but what was your next thing that you had in there that you like?
It's the viral egg flights.
Okay. I know the Shedeur Sanders stuff. Like I was paying attention to all of it, and we'll get a chance to touch on this. But what the hell is the other thing that you have? Because Angela, what happens is Bella always walks in, and a lot of it because of her being purely Gen Z. She's like, this is what we're talking about on Instagram, or this is what's going on.
What's going on the internet world, social media world.
Yeah, all of it. And so she's so plugged in with it. There are things that she gets into. Like I'd never heard the term, and this is what them kids are saying. They're voters. She's like, "Oh, it's so Trumpy." I'm like,
Trumpy.
And as soon as I hear that, that's the kids when they're like, "This is cool." Donald Trump, with their age group, with the early part of Gen Z into Gen Z, is like a cool thing again.
I love this.
Trumpy.
I'm going to start using this.
Trumpy.
She just goes, "Oh, it's so Trumpy." I'm like, "Okay, that'll work." Okay, so what's your first thing that you got?
Okay, so online, egg flights are going crazy. So basically, you take about 4 to 5 eggs and you slice them in half, and on each half, you design it in a different way. So some people put like cream cheese, scallion, and smoked salmon and make it like a lox egg.
Ooh.
Or some people will put kimchi and like a dash of sesame oil and make it like multicultural. Or some people will do, the standard mustard, and they'll rate it. And it's going viral. People will do steak and eggs, like put steak on it.
Oh my gosh,
Or
this sounds
buffalo
incredible.
chicken.
We're looking at a hot dog.
Okay,
egg.
I found it. So
Yeah, some people are doing hot dog flights as well.
Hot dog flight?
Yes. So it's becoming a trend on social media because right now I would say TikTok is very oversaturated with women losing weight and calorie deficits in summer. So all those videos start to kind of
run together and nobody wants to
and
jump into that?
Well, people are starting to do egg flights because it's like less calories and it's more protein, and a lot of people are trying to get their protein in. So one woman made this egg flight and it went viral.
And try to create an interesting way for you to consume egg.
Yeah.
It's like the breakfast egg,
The breakfast egg, yes.
the pickle
buffalo
egg.
chicken.
The Thai egg. Okay, that would probably be more mine. Like, give me something
That sounds
spicy.
good. I'm looking at the caprese egg.
Right?
Tomato, balsamic.
The butter
Thank you,
egg.
Bella. I think I know what I'm bringing to girls' night tomorrow night.
Some people like make fun of it and be like, so if it's a buffalo chicken egg, they'll call it a beg.
Oh, cute.
So this is a beg.
All right, that looks a lot better
Or
as far
steak
as
and eggs. Someone did a steak and
Yeah.
eggs, like steak frite type thing. Oh my God. It was a husband cooking for his wife doing it, and it looked so good.
solid food, poached eggs on
Yeah.
top of a small piece of
Yep.
meat. And yeah, no, this
Some people are doing hot dogs. Like I can get behind I call them glizzies. So a glizzy flight.
A glizzy flight. All right, if you were going to design the perfect glizzy that's going in the flight, what is the Bella hot dog situation?
first off, hot dogs are nasty, but okay. Continue.
What? Hot dogs are not. It's a ballpark staple. Like, come on.
No, it's just gross.
I would say my perfect, if I had to make like a hot dog flight, I haven't thought about this because I saw a video last night while I was scrolling late night and I saw some woman do it and I was like, I gotta try this. Maybe a banana pepper one. Definitely like a pickle, ketchup, mustard one.
The classics.
Yeah. Some people were making like a hot dog taco type of egg with like Taco Bell dressing on it.
Do you ever think that this is as you pointed out, like you're currently having everything filled with like drop a bunch of weight for summer, getting all this sort of stuff. And then the other faction is saying like, here, have a hot dog with like peanut butter on it.
Ooh, no.
Like, you know what? We don't want to worry about
like,
this whole
when you
swimsuit bod
look
thing.
if you see online, if you look in egg flight or hot dog flight, they're small. This isn't supposed to be a whole glizzy on a plate plus another whole glizzy on a plate.
By the way, what's a glizzy?
A hot dog.
Okay.
Have you seen the fizzy glizzy?
What's a
Whoa,
fizzy glizzy?
no.
This is a food crime. Like, I think whoever did this, they should be on one of those planes to El Salvador. This is real bad. But they, like, put a hole in the hot dog so it's like a straw, and they drink a soda through it.
Ew, no, I can't get behind that. Like, that freaks me out.
That was when I was like, too much internet. I've seen too much.
What's it called?
A fizzy glizzy.
A fizzy glizzy. That is wild.
Is that like a dare? Like, nobody should be consuming something through it. Okay, if you want to eat a hot dog.
Yeah.
Now, I don't endorse this. Now, a bratwurst, okay, we can have a discussion there. That's actually pretty awesome. Beer brats, love them. Absolutely awesome. But I'm not going to use one as a straw to consume something else. That's a little too far.
Criminal, I'm not going to lie to you.
So that's a food crime.
That's
But an
very.
egg flight sounds amazing.
Well, speaking of like poking a hole in food, another trend that someone came up with on Shark Tank that's also being sold on TikTok is they take a banana and you put a straw through it, and people have been putting like Nutella or peanut butter in it without breaking the banana.
So they do like banana surgery.
Yeah.
Does it work? Like, okay,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of the logistics of that.
So
This looks shaky.
It has like a pointing pole thing, and it.
Pointing pole.
I mean, I'm trying to describe it as best as I can. You stick the banana like through.
You're doing great, Bella.
You stick the banana onto like the pole, and then it pulls whatever's like inside of it, and then there's another like button that you can fill it with like Nutella or peanut butter, and it goes inside, and then when you cut it, it's already like in the banana. So instead of like putting it on top.
All right, so since you're finishing out, kind of grossing out the audience or entertaining them,
it's so
with
good.
that, it's either really good or really nasty. I mean, you already used a hot dog as a straw with me, so I'm like,
That's my fault. That's my fault. We're not going to put that evil on Bella.
you're on shaky ground. You got a couple minutes left. So, what has been the fallout with Shedeur Sanders, especially when it comes to Gen Z? Because the young man, if you don't know the story, he was pranked. And it's Atlanta based. Like his father.
It always comes back to Atlanta.
It always does. His father is the defensive coordinator here. His son got a hold of his iPad that he left out. He saw the private number of Sanders and pranked him.
So everyone knows the story pretty much by now if you've been on the internet. But the whole other internet side of it is that Shador was Twitch live streaming this entire thing, like the entire draft. So a lot of people, have their opinions on him. I think the prank call was very, very wrong.
I think it's bad taste.
I think it was pretty, you must be so bored with your life to do that to someone. As someone who has a brother who plays football, and if he ever got to that level, I would be so pissed at you if you ever did that. But there's another side of the internet right now that Shador Sanders had this giant draft party. And yes, people have different parties. I'm going to quote parties because a lot of these videos are with their friends and family in the house, or someone, Cooper DeJean had one in a big type of barn type of thing when he was getting drafted to the Eagles.
He went to Iowa. He's friendly
on
in a
brand.
barn.
Yeah, so it was just very much, it's very, I would say, low key when it comes to the draft parties. But he's live twitching, streaming all of this, and he has dancers, bottle service, whole decked out with hats and painted. And he didn't have an agent throughout this entire thing. So there's a lot of, if you listen to Barstool podcast right now, a lot of people are saying, you know what, the prank call was wrong, but he's not very well liked on the internet for just this giant draft party, his ego.
A lot of this was bad advice. And now I get why you don't have an agent, because the idea of not having an agent is I'm not sharing my 3%, my 5% with anyone else, because no matter where you're drafted, it's slotted. So the agent doesn't get you any more or less money.
But it's more about PR. This definitely showed about.
It's more, just you said, it's more about, hey, this is not the way to handle this.
No, and if he had an agent, which this is my personal opinion, if you had an agent, you would be advised, hey, let's not do this. His dad let him do this. I know he has a very, famous dad, legend in Atlanta, playing 2 sports. His dad is, the GOAT to some people. But however, you can see the nepotism doesn't really matter in the NFL. And so if he had an agent, he would be advised, hey, let's not live stream this entire job. Hey, let's, keep this low key with your family. Everyone was knowing his situation.
The Browns, their second round person who announced it was Joe Thomas. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Joe Thomas was drafted from a fishing boat. He was fishing with his dad.
See, that's funny and cool. I love that.
That's the chill way to do it. All right, thank you to Bella. Thank you to Angela Morabito. Thank you to Jerry. And thank you to Tug. We will see you all back on Monday. It's so long now. What is it that I don't even remember. You take us out, Jerry.
Y'all come back now. You hear?
Oh, there it is.
Tell me one single policy idea the Democrats have come up with since they got wiped out in this last election. Nothing. Nada.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 and the Extra app.